Saturday night, and the lights are low. ABBA's reuniting next week. But before that happens, we need to do an emergency semi-four horsemen, semi-erect folks, semi-dissident,
semi-formal,
semi-charmed kind of life. It's Eric Jackman here from Jackman Radio with my twin brother Mike, and my based little brother. He's not really. He's actually taller than me. He's not my little brother, but he's in spirit. He's my based truck driver brother, Reed Coverdale. Reed, thanks for joining us tonight, dude. On last moment's notice.
Aloha, Tucker.
Aloha, Tucky.
Aloha, Tucky. Yeah, it's great to be here with you guys as always. Thanks for having me.
It's fun, we wanted to do something kind of informal, and wow, a lot has happened in the last week that we need to touch on. This has been arguably Joe Biden's watermark. This is the zenith of Joe Biden's presidency.
So are we all now Biden 2024? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I mean, Reed, you saw what I tweeted earlier, dude. Getting out of Afghanistan, shutting that down for real, and then falling asleep when the psychopath Israeli prime minister speaking to you in the Oval. Dude, you won me. You won me over. You literally don't have to do anything else for the next 3 years. You got my vote.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were pissed that Trump was gone for the entertainment value going away.
We missed him. Yeah,
I gotta admit, like, Biden's doing a pretty good job with the entertainment value at this point. Like, he's fine tuning the entertainment. It's it's kind of.
Someone asked him a question. He's just like, "Come on, man." Reed, that's what our president does.
It's the defeat, Instead of the CAG lean, he does the,
dude, I miss the CAG lean.
Oh yeah, Biden puts his head on his desk like a fifth grade student being told by the teacher to put your head down.
But who said that? Come on, man.
Yeah, but honestly, with Biden, I mean, I am.
Steve pointed it. Wait, Steve, you got a haircut, Steve, didn't you? And Eric has not changed his shirt.
What are you going to say, Reed?
When it comes to Biden, I am impressed with him pulling out of Afghanistan. But for the most part, the Biden standing, it's sort of a joke because it triggers so many fucking retards. Like, dude, it's like the Trump stuff, like what we would do with Trump. Like, we didn't like Trump. He'd occasionally do something kind of based, and we'd be like, "Oh, that's cool." He was mostly just retarded, but we just pretend to love him because it would drive people crazy. And it's the same fucking thing with Biden. Like, I don't love him, and Biden's a fucking retard, but it's fun to be like, hashtag based Biden and just see everyone fucking lose it. Just like, oh my God. They're just like the Trump derangement syndrome.
Right. And then you get some vote blue no matter who MSN watching retard cucked assholes who reach out to you like, oh my God, is Eric seeing the light? He's saying nice things about Biden. He said Biden did something nice. He's on our team now again. And I'm just like, excuse me.
Here's what, hey, man, come on. Stop. Shut up, fat. Here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say to you, okay? I was a promoter of the Patriot Act, and that's based on a proposal from the 1990s called the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act, which I authored. I authored it in 96. That's after I fingered Tara Reid. That was after that.
I'll be right back. My food just showed up. So.
Nice. Oh, is that the doorbell? Okay.
That was the doorbell. So you can just drop me out. I'll be right back.
We need doorbell.
We need doorbell. We need wall.
We need wall. His food came. Yeah. Oh, dude, I know, Mike. But yeah, what about Biden, Mike?
So the flack that he's taking is because of how we have, just out of the blue, suddenly we're pulling out of Afghanistan when, this goes back a year plus when the king was in there. I mean, Trump was talking about a deal for April or May, right, of this year. Like, I made a deal with the Taliban. They're not going to kill anybody. They're not going to do anything because if they do, they know. I'm going to go to their house. I'm going to hit them where it hurts. Their family.
Oh, and what did he say, Mike? Negotiating with them who they weren't?
Look, excuse me. I talked to Abdul. I talked to these people. I negotiated with them. The Taliban, these aren't Boy Scouts. He's not.
He says it on Hannity. These are not Boy Scouts.
Excuse me. He's not a Boy Scout. If I was in there, this never would have happened. You never would have had that person fall off the plane and become a splat on the tarmac. That never would have happened. It actually probably would have. And then you would have somehow had NAGA retards make excuses for it, just like now it's happening under Biden. No matter who's president, the pull out of Afghanistan would have sucked.
See,
it would have been messy, and it's just the reality of it. Look, I mean, where everybody who's talking about, oh my God, I stand with the Afghani women and children. Where the fuck were you 10, 15, 20 years ago? Where were you during
Saudi Arabian women?
Well,
right now.
Yes, absolutely. But where were you in Afghanistan when it counted, when it mattered 10, 15 years ago? Where were you when Obama was president? Everybody who posted about women in Afghanistan, where the fuck were you when Obama was president? Oh, wait. And that's rhetorical. That's a rhetorical barb. Yeah.
The thing I will credit. See, here's the deal. Here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal. I didn't think Trump was actually going to pull us out of Afghanistan. And then, as you remember, Eric, we were on the Four Horsemen with Pete Quinones. You and I were laughing at the prospect of Biden pulling out of Afghanistan. We were like, yeah, Biden. Okay. So I didn't think Trump was going to do it. I definitely didn't think Biden was going to do it. So in hindsight, I think if Trump actually had won re-election and pulled out in the May deadline and honored the Taliban's agreement, maybe I think things would have gone more smoothly than they are now, because from my understanding, because I've been listening to Scott Horton quite a bit, who I listen to instead of Charlie Kirk, like a bunch of libertarians do, apparently.
Hold on.
Yeah. All these fucking libertarians that hate Biden so much that they can't see straight. They're using like the same talking points Charlie Kirk is about getting out of Afghanistan. But anyway, I've been listening to Scott Horton a lot. And it seems like the biggest problem we have right now is the reason the Taliban overran Kabul while we were still there is because we broke the deal with them and they didn't honor the agreement anymore because the government that we left was illegitimate to them because we'd broken the deal that we'd made with them. So if we had honored our agreement and gotten out in May, they would have, they might not have, but I think they probably would have held back and let us escape. Because even now, with them overrunning Kabul, they're not attacking us. The Taliban isn't attacking us. Like, a lot of people don't know the difference between ISIS and the Taliban, so they think they're attacking us right now. But it seems to me if we had gotten out on the original deadline that Trump made the agreement with, things would be going a little bit smoother. But other than that, other than Biden caving to that little bit of political pressure and, you know, just making it so it wasn't Trump's deal, I think that was what the thing was. His deal. And the symbolism of leaving on 9/11 or whatever, like, that was retarded. That's the only thing I really think Biden fucked up with. Like, everything else, I'm amazed that he's just kind of been retarded and stubborn and just stuck with it and like still, you know, going for it. I'm amazed. It makes me wonder what's like, are we about to go to war with Russia or something? Like, what?
We're gonna nuke. The hell are we gonna nuke, Reed?
Yeah, dude, because I don't get it. I can't believe he's so stalwart and like, nope, we're pulling out. I just can't believe it.
I will not leave this to a fifth. I think it's a fifth. 4 + 1. What's that, Kamala? That's 5. The fifth president. I will not leave this to a fifth president. I am the buck stops at me. I'm the commander-in-chief and the president of the United States of America. He's like saying it to himself, like, am I? Like, this is like, is he really? Is he? I put out a post saying it's way past time we got out of Afghanistan. The first thing I put up was Ron Paul's speech from 11 fucking years ago. Yeah, if we don't do this now, we'll be in there for another 10 years at least. And once again, Ron Paul was right.
Yeah, as usual. The other thing is, like, so I don't think we should have given all those weapons to the Afghan army in the first place. Like,
no.
That's Scott Horton was talking about this on Pete Quinones' show about how that's the biggest fuck up of this whole thing is imagining that there actually is an Afghan army, 300,000 strong or whatever. So we left them all those Black Hawks and vehicles. But the thing is, you have people simultaneously complaining that we left weapons and then also saying that we didn't leave a strong enough force to defend Afghanistan against the Taliban. So whichever narrative you want to go with, just fucking pick one, because
exactly, it's a narrative. I mean, we certainly supported the ISI, which is Pakistan's intelligence, which has been arming and funding and supporting the Taliban since at least the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. You know, people don't seem to realize or understand the Taliban isn't something that just sprung up. like around the 9/11 attacks. Like they rose up after from the bowels of the Mujahideen network and what
Soviets.
we supported when Reagan was president. So our impact over there and our time over there since Zbigniew Brzezinski under Jimmy Carter actually has an impact on what's going on now 40 plus years later. So that's why I think it's incumbent on people to understand and to speak out against any kind of other wars we want to get going, because undoubtedly Lockheed Martin, Boeing, the Pentagon, they're going to want some more wars coming like right quick.
Yeah, the other thing is a lot of people don't realize the AUMF was not a declaration of war. And it wasn't an authorization to invade Afghanistan. It was an authorization to go kill the people who attacked us on 9/11. And I, hindsight's real easy. I think I would have been with Barbara Lee and voted against the AUMF.
That was based.
Yeah. Brave vote. But just because even though the AUMF is pretty clear that it's only to take out the terrorists who attacked us on 9/11, the government's going to use that to, do whatever the fuck it wants. But from my understanding, we had barely entered Afghanistan. I think we'd taken over like a couple bases in one city maybe. And then the Taliban was like, okay, you know what? We'll give you Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. And then George Bush was like, nope, fuck you, too late. We're gonna take over your country, basically. So we could have ended the war on terrorism right there, but we decided, nope, we want to turn it into something else.
I remember that. That was October 2001, and they said, show us the evidence or don't show us the evidence. We can point to where bin Laden is. And, Bush rejected that. And then in late 2001, bin Laden made his way to Pakistan, which he was later found in basically the West Point of Pakistani's army, military force, in 2011 when we did get him. And they knew where it was. They were watching him. I mean, I put up a post earlier. I'm going to put up a post every single day for the next 2 weeks because tonight marks the beginning, the tipping point of the next, over the next 2 weeks, it will culminate in 2 Saturdays from tonight in the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And our country is so woefully ignorant and uninformed about 9/11, about the attacks itself, about what led up to it. And tonight what I put up was just talking about the fact that one of the inter services intelligence guys from the Pakistani ISI was meeting with Joe Biden and was meeting with people from Condi Rice's office. He was also meeting with Bob Graham and Porter Goss, who were in charge of the 2002 investigation into the 9/11 attacks, the congressional investigation. And this is the guy that has credible evidence and documentation to show that he wired $100,000 to the head hijacker, Muhammad Atta, and through an intermediary who just got let out of jail this year. So it's totally relevant. Those things are relevant, but they're going to frame it like, oh, Spike Lee is talking about conspiracy theories in his HBO documentary.
Yeah.
Somebody said this about the buildings, and somebody said that about. It's like everyone's missing the boat, man. They're missing the point. And
I won't share what he said because it was a private message, but Scott Horton had a pretty based response to that. Do you remember it, Eric? To the Spike Lee thing?
I do. That's something that we will keep. We can have to release it in 25 years. No, man, it's a Disneyland narrative, man, about an attack that happened 20 years ago. And it's cute. We're all seeing it on our social medias. It's cute seeing people who are complete clowns and oblivious to shit, like pretending to care about it and posting about it now.
Yeah.
Well, there's not just Americans, people in the service who weren't around. There's members of the Taliban who were not alive when 9/11 happened, who are now in the Taliban fighting. And that's a crazy fact to think about.
Remember that story Scott told us on the Four Horsemen about the farmer in Afghanistan who had no idea what the war was about, and so someone explained 9/11 to him, and it was like some tribe attacked
a village
in a field out, or a village, whatever it was.
He said a village called New York. He said a group of people crashed a jet into a village called New York, into one of their buildings in their village. Dude, majority of, at the time in 2001 when 9/11 happened, majority of the human beings living in Afghanistan had no fucking clue that 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
They didn't even know about it. It didn't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
You know, it was a hand in glove operation where you just use a rent-a-terrorist, and Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and Israel and Western intelligence, it's all there, man. And it just created this whole 20-year fucking clusterfuck we've had, the war on terror.
Now since we've beaten Afghanistan, maybe we can get rid of the Patriot Act, right? I'm sure that's next.
We don't need the Patriot Act anymore, right?
We defeated them, right?
Right? It's over. It's done. It's over.
The funny thing is Al-Qaeda is way more powerful now than it was on 9/11. You know, the whole war on terrorism completely backfired. We gave them like most of Iraq in 2000.
Yeah. Well, they will establish a fucking caliphate. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I wonder, you know, Scott Horton seems to think that they're dumb, and Ryan seems to think they're more evil and that they're conniving and they're trying to do this. Like, I don't really know. I find myself somewhere in between. Like, I feel like some of them are evil and some of them are just fucking stupid. Like, it's kind of a mix, you know, like.
What is this, commenting on the people who were in charge?
Yeah, I think it's both.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of like full retard and then people who were, I mean, Dick Cheney, the guy who was there when all this went down, that guy's evil.
Sure. Donald
Rumsfeld's evil. Paul Wolfowitz was evil. Ashcroft. W. Bush he's retarded.
Yeah.
he's just a retarded, drunk, cokehead son of a president.
Yeah.
You know, who was the face for all these ghouls when all this happened, and they shepherded it in, and they had an agenda and a goal, and then 9/11 was their fucking pocket weasel.
Yeah.
And boy, they've gotten mileage out of it.
Yeah.
But I know now it's like, okay, what's the play here? Because who's pulling Biden's strings?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Like, because I'm so with him in pulling out of Afghanistan, it makes me wonder, like, what is going on here? Like, how in control of this are you? And then what's the ulterior motive here? Because I don't know. I'm just highly skeptical that he suddenly had a change of heart and was like, all right, we shouldn't. I mean, the thing is with Biden, like, he's not quite Hillary Clinton. I think a lot of people forget this. And a lot of people in our circle don't deal in nuance. Like, everyone's good or bad.
Nuance.
Yeah. I mean, like, Hillary.
Libertarians and nuance? What's that?
But, like, I mean, Hillary and Biden are both the scum of the earth, but Hillary's worse than Biden. Like, Biden was really skeptical of going into Libya. I think it was Libya. Like, Hillary was all gung ho. We need to do this, and Biden was like, I don't really think so. I don't think this is a great idea. And he changed his mind on the Iraq War before Hillary Clinton did. Like, so he's not. I mean, he's still terrible, but he's not quite all the way where Hillary is. So I don't know. Maybe he actually does feel like it's time to get out of Afghanistan. I don't know. I mean, it's so weird. Like, I mean, dude, this is like remember when Trump threatened to veto the Patriot Act last year at the beginning of the year in like March or April or whatever it was. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, holy fuck, Trump's going to veto the Patriot Act. And I was just like, yeah, go Trump. And it's such a weird feeling because you're so used to being diametrically opposed to almost everything these ghouls are doing. So when they're sort of on your side for once, it makes you stop and just be like,
wait a minute. Yeah.
What's going on here? Like, this
what's the real story?
This is where. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I mean, Biden was not a Cheney and Rumsfeld fan early on because Biden's been in D.C. since the very early 70s, around the time when people like Cheney were getting into Washington, D.C. And, I mean, it's not that he's a dummy when it comes to these things. I mean, he was the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he was privy to a lot of stuff before he ever became vice president in 2009 when he was sworn in. So, But again, he had no problem. He had no problem with the crime bill. He had no problem supporting the Iraq War. So he eventually came over to Cheney and Rumsfeld's side. So anything about him that had any kind of discernment or any kind of protest seemed to have vanished. So that's why with this Afghanistan thing, like I agree with what you're saying, Reed. It's like, okay, what's the catch? Biden's pulling us up. Biden's pulling us out of Afghanistan. What's the catch?
Who's leading this? Who's conducting it?
Yeah, I talked to Scott and asked him about it, and he said this is Biden's position. Like this is Biden just not being impressed by whatever his staff is telling him, and he's the one who's being obstinate and saying, nope, we're getting out of here. Scott's a pretty good authority on that, so I
trust what base Scott Horton says about foreign policy and the people who are there. I mean, this guy is like insane about researching not only presidents but who they put around them for foreign policy decisions. Yeah, and their connections to the grift, And we all saw, was it Austin Lloyd is Biden Secretary of Defense?
Lloyd Austin, yeah.
Or Lloyd Austin, the black dude there who ran Raytheon.
Mm-hmm. And then Tony Blinken.
Yeah.
Blinken, yeah.
Yeah, so, all his moves leading up to this don't make any sense. It looked like, and then with Israel a few months ago, just like 100% backing whatever they did. And I was like, okay, just complete full neocon ghoul. And then,
right.
Apparently we were ending support for the blockade in Yemen, but that hasn't stopped either. So I was like, okay, fuck it. He's just going to be just as bad. And now this is happening. I'm just like, what is, it just doesn't add up. I don't really get it. It's just really weird.
Yeah, you have to say, where are the powers that be? Where do the Pentagon want us? Where does Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Blackwater, Eric Prince, where do those forces want us next?
Saudi Arabia.
Where are we moving forces into?
It says a lot, Mike. The king's first trip abroad when he became king was Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
When he went over, he had the sword read. He was like, dude, he was so retarded. The Dragon Ball Z globe. Dude, I was here.
That's amazing. That picture exists. Is a
read.
And then somebody photoshopped Saruman from Lord of the Rings into that, and it didn't even. It was weird.
It's almost worth the arms trades to have. So it's like,
he's just like.
Well, yeah, and Saudi Arabia still has a lot to lose. With again coming up on 2 weeks from the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Why was Jamal Khashoggi killed? Why did they chop him up in the embassy? And there's been no accountability. That guy knew a lot about 9/11. His uncle, Adnan Khashoggi, was a very well-known arms dealer who was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. He was connected to Donald Trump. And Khashoggi's nephew knew a lot about 9/11. And he was writing for the Washington Post. And he was going into that embassy to get a marriage license. What country was it? Or Turkey. Turkey.
And boy, they carved him up like a Thanksgiving turkey, didn't they? That was incredible. You could picture Trump Reed like just in a press conference being like, they carved him up and it was such a beautiful carving.
He got good and dead. And they're not going to do anything about it. And I think that speaks to what's going on with the lawsuits from the 9/11 families about Saudi Arabia, particularly when they're like, Biden, don't come to our anniversary events unless you're going to release these documents. So you're seeing that in the news, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's these lawsuits are still going on. I mean, there's people my age who lost their father, or people older than me who lost a spouse or lost a child or whatever. We're still talking about these things, and you got the Spike Lee documentary that's coming out. Part 2 drops tomorrow. It's about 9/11 and COVID in New York City in the last 2 decades. And Spike Lee got brought to heel by HBO or by somebody about talking about 9/11. Like the last episode that he had, which was sent, a screener copy, a version of it was sent to certain members of the press. He went hard on 9/11 for like a half hour, and he got some serious blowback about that. And now he's going back to edit it. It's not even out yet. So
yeah,
that just tells you, man, there's certain powers and entities 2 decades on that are still very much a cornerstone and still in there that can dictate policy.
Yeah, I mean, I give Rand Paul a lot of shit, but I remember when I forget what year it was, 2017 or 2018, with those multi-billion-dollar arms sales to Saudi Arabia. He actually can't remember if he blocked it or if he filibustered it or what, but I remember him giving a long speech about Saudi Arabia. It was so good. And he was talking about how they might have been involved with 9/11. Like he said that on the Senate floor. And then he was talking about them chopping up Khashoggi with a bone saw, like all this. I mean, it's amazing. Like he has his moments, man. Sometimes I don't know. Like he's not his dad, but he gets up there, and when he does tell the truth, it's so good. And then Tulsi during the campaign, she was the only one who cared about the 9/11 report at all. She was the only one talking about it at all. And then Tucker Carlson was talking about it on his show with her. So I don't know. I mean, there's publicity about it that we've never had before. The fact that Rand Paul would talk about it on the Senate floor, and then she would talk about it on Tucker Carlson's show. That's a little bit of a rainbow frog there, I guess. Maybe things are slowly moving in the right direction. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Rand was very good on that. Yeah, I remember seeing Rand in Ringe in 2015 and talking to him about the 28 pages, which he had read before this is released publicly. And he told me to read Bob Graham's book. And, I knew about Bob Graham's information. We talked about him earlier. He was the co-chair of the O2 congressional investigation into it. And, yeah, basically, man, the Saudis have to be held to account with what they know and who they supported. And you have 15 of the 19 hijackers were ultimately from Saudi Arabia. And there was support given to them, monetarily from certain, entities within the Saudi government. So it's definitely there.
Yeah, you got all Ryan Dawson fans in your chat there, Eric. You got Fire Pixie, P1 Dizzy. You got everyone. Yeah,
well, we are Reed's mustache.
Eric, what about Eric Clapton?
Dude, Eric Clapton is a fucking bass lord. I've always been a big fan of his, but he's like 70. What is he, Mike? 75, 76?
Yeah, he's like 75. Yeah, 76.
He's using the platform that he has, which that dude's able to create global headlines because of he's one of the greatest guitarists to ever live.
He's arguably one of the top three.
Yeah, and
I love Mexican people. They're the greatest.
We got Reed having Chipotle. Okay, he had it delivered.
Is that a steak burrito, Reed? What is that?
Yeah, what's in there?
Chicken and steak.
Dude, he's pulling a full Dawson. He's just eating during the stream.
I was going to pull a Ryan Dawson.
If Reed's not driving truck, he's podcasting. And
when could he eat?
Poikin's ready to simp for you, Reed.
Oh, dude, can I just go ahead and say I love you, Steve Poikinen.
Poikinen, we love you.
I love you.
And Poikinen, let me tell you, I saw Candyman last night, and the reboot quote is fucking good. The first 5-10 minutes, there was some of that woke shit coming in, but they got over it, and it was great. It was really good. It was really good.
I am Reed's lack of enthusiasm, dude. Reed has plenty of enthusiasm. What is?
It's my deadpan look. It's just my natural appearance.
The thing is, Reed. No, Mike and I have the privilege of actually knowing you in real life.
Outside of this, yeah.
We didn't just exist on screens to each other, you do to thousands of anonymous people.
I love how people Reed looks like a villain. He looks like a
serial killer.
Eric, he looks like a villain. It's that might be his resting bitch liberty face. His resting liberty bitch face, but that's not him.
Dude, you don't even know Reed. He's like the fucking sweetest guy I've ever known.
He's a lot of fun. In this very kitchen, I've had drinks in this very kitchen with Reed. We had a lot of fun. We had a great time. And he wrote me you would like to read that letter. Reed wrote me a nice letter. You'd love to read that.
He did. We spread so much aloha here in New Hampshire. You wouldn't believe the aloha we spread.
Reed put up so many signs. Eric, how many signs do you think Reed put up, dude, in his truck?
Untold.
I broke the record. I think I drove 117 miles and put up 17 signs. See, this was before we were allowed to throw them anywhere. You had to just put them where people wanted them in their yards or whatever. I took a whole Sunday and drove we went from Sunapee out to Claremont and then down to where you guys live and then over to over to like Manchester. I went all over the place. It was ridiculous. But
that's incredible. We all backed the right candidate last time around. So if you're angry about Biden, you're angry about Trump, here's who we backed. Here's who Eric and I and Reed backed. So
hello, Hideki.
Pointing at her, I couldn't tell you were pointing for a second. Yeah. Hello, hi, Tucker. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hello, Hideki.
and then before that we backed Rand Paul, and before that we backed Ron Paul, and Gravel was also in there. So when people are like angry about me about Biden or Trump or about Hillary or about Obama, it's like, oh, that's cute.
They fucking laugh at him.
Yeah, it's just like, where the fuck were you when it mattered? So now that we're on the roller coaster of empire, and we're kind of like this now. We're kind of just like coming down. Dude, if you can still get Chipotle and I can still get a fucking cold Corona, I'm happy. So I'm not angry. I'm not like an angry person.
No. Nero fiddled while Rome burned. Imagine if he could have memed instead. Like how much fun it would have been. Like we get to meme while Rome burned. So
I'm happy. I'm happy that there's a little bit of attention on Sirhan and the RFK assassination. I can't. I read this book. This is one book that I've read about the case. Speaking of conspiracies that aren't anymore. So I don't know about JFK Jr., but RFK Jr. certainly wrote a letter of support, and he met with Sirhan, and he also is friends with Lisa Pease, the author of this book. So I will, I can't explain the whole thing to everybody who's not caught up on it, but read this book by Lisa Pease, A Lie Too Big to Fail. Read the book called Who Killed Bobby by Shane O'Sullivan. Watch the documentary The Second Gun, and just really look at it. Look at the case. Basically, the coroner Noguchi, his name is Thomas Noguchi, still alive. He's in his 90s. RFK was killed by a bullet from behind, right here. A powder burn, 1 to 2 inches in his back ear. Sirhan was firing in front of him the entire time. One of the people who was shot in the head, Paul Schrade, who's still alive, who's like 96 years old, testified at this hearing and the one in 2016 for his release. And 2 of RFK's children wanted Sirhan released. So they finally granted him parole, which I think is incredible. That's not to say that there's not people who don't want him to get out. There's 6 of RFK's children do not want Sirhan to get out, and I understand that. But they've also not looked at the same evidence that RFK Jr. went and looked at. And what one of RFK's sons, I think his name is Doug Kennedy, who was essentially almost a newborn or a toddler in 1968 when RFK was killed. So that's big news. Sirhan's 77 years old. He's been incarcerated since 1968. Realistically, he's been a model prisoner, and it's a big story. It's a big story.
So, Mike, if it wasn't Sirhan who killed RFK, who killed him?
I mean, there's been evidence and other people. It was the cop who died in Vietnam. Yeah, you're referring to Thane Caesar, who lived in the Philippines, who just died in the last couple of years, who wanted to basically extort RFK Jr. thousands of dollars to interview him. This is who RFK Jr. thinks shot his father. Ultimately, the actual wounds. If you look at the death photos, RFK Jr. grabbed the tie. He grabbed Thane's tie, and that was lying next to him. So it's hard to go into on a live stream. And again, this is why you should read this book. This is how thick this is. One book. This is one book. This represents one book that I've read in the last 20 years out of more than a half dozen. So you can't just break it down in one live stream. But I would encourage everybody, because right now this is in the news, check this book out. Check out Lisa Pease's work. Check out Ryan Dawson's work on this. Check out Chirac's work, and check out Shane O'Sullivan. Shane O'Sullivan has a documentary which is available on Amazon right now called RFK Must Die. So I think that's a good introduction into the case, and shows you that there's a whole story that the mainstream media will not tell you. And there's many witnesses who line up with what that says.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah, basically.
I knew that was coming out at some point.
I mean, Reed, I had to post that. It just kind of summed everything up.
He does know how to put things into words, doesn't he?
Yeah, he was just like, Lady Gaga.
When's he announcing for 24? What do you guys think? Before 23, or is he going to wait for 23?
I don't know if he'll do it. Like I go back and forth. Some days I think he will. Some days I don't think he will. Man, I mean, he's retarded enough to do it. I think he'll win if he does it. Dude, I mean,
you want him to win, right, Reed?
Well, I don't think anyone can lose to Kamala Harris. Dude, I just don't. Like, I don't even know if like Chris Christie would lose to Kamala Harris. Like, who would lose to her? Like Hillary Clinton, maybe? I can't think of anyone that would actually lose to her.
He's like, yeah, because you'd be in jail. Yeah, we need a 2024 Republican primary, like we got in 16, which was
30 people.
It's one of the greatest things that I've ever seen, Reed, as far as political theater goes.
That's amazing.
He's like, he's up there. He's like, boy, Rand, you're having a tough time. I gave you a lot of money. You know, he's a mob king up there, Mike, with the people who gave him money, and then he's up there calling them out. You know.
Yeah, he was everything. But the thing that's funny is you take some clips from the debates, things that Trump said back then, and you could use them now, and it would be the things that the Democrats are saying. So do you remember him getting in that argument with Rand Paul about closing down parts of the internet where ISIS is? You know, like, I believe in free speech. I'm a free speech kind of guy. But these people hate us, and we need to find where. I mean, so take those exact words and just change like ISIS to right-wing extremists, and you've got exactly what the Democrats are doing now. They're like, yeah, we need, all this fucking bullshit on Facebook where you share something about vaccines and, you trigger that little thing to pop up. Or Thomas Massey was talking about natural immunity versus vaccine immunity, and they muted him so he couldn't have any likes or comments on his tweet.
Oh, wow.
Like,
he got muted? Really?
Yeah, like that. They're doing what Trump suggested 5 years ago in the primary, or 6 years ago now, I guess. It's just amazing.
I think there should be some punishment for the mother. I think it's the same type of thing, Reed. It really is.
He called for the families to be
the shit out of them. We need to kill their families.
Like he called for the children in the cribs to be killed. Like,
he's like, if you try anything, if you move on our people, we're going to hit you where it hurts, your homes. He's going to bomb the terrorist boyfriends.
Read, if you move on our people. It's like, dude, we're over there in their fucking country.
I know.
We're over there occupying their country.
I don't know what type of person, I know so many retards who were like, Trump was an anti-war candidate in 2016. And I was like, no, he was. Like, he wanted to nuke. He wanted to nuke countries. Remember, he didn't. I remember Rand Paul was doing an interview. I forget what it was on, but the guy was asking him what he thought about Trump, and he was like, "Well, you remember at the last debate when Trump didn't know what the nuclear triad was? Well, once he found out what it was, he said we don't use it enough." And I was just like, "Oh,
I'll tell you, I don't want that becoming dusty. I don't like my nukes becoming dusty. Okay?
Dusty nukes."
Dude, he's everything.
Oh, man.
I think the triad's incredible. It's unbelievable. It's something that we should be taking a look at, okay?
Yeah, he had no idea what it was. It was so hilarious. And
no.
I don't think I did in 2015 either. I wasn't nearly as into things as I am now. But I remember, and then Marco Rubio was so funny. It was such a slight at Trump, but he's like, well, for those in the audience who don't know, and obviously he means the guy standing next to me, he's like, the nuclear triad is, our nuclear missile system on submarines, airplanes, and, ground level or whatever. And, but it was, Trump's answer. Like, that guy could bullshit through not knowing anything. He'd be like, well, it's tremendous. It's a big deal. We need to look at it. It's a game changer. It's huge.
He brought our whole process to full retard, and it was incredible, dude. I'm here for it. We need it again in 24. Like, we need it, dude. He was up there, Reed, against seasons. He was up there against people who were planning to run for president for 30 years.
Yeah, he just threw him a curveball. But dude, what about DeSantis? I think he's better at it than Trump is.
Oh
Like,
God.
dude,
Well,
DeSantis is the ghoul part, but without the retard. He's just
yeah,
ghoul.
well, DeSantis is more capable.
Yeah.
And has sharks around him. And if you are a part of BDS, he will have you brought out and shot. He will have you fucking killed, you know?
Yeah. Dude, he's not a retard, so he'll do better. Like he knows how to tap into retard, like get the retard vote, but he doesn't have to become retard like Trump did.
He can whip up full retard, but DeSantis he's definitely one to watch, and the king is watching him closely.
Oh yeah,
you see them together when they're having dinner together. It's like,
Trump just looks at him like,
what do you think? If you be my vice president, it'll be unbelievable. How do we do this? What do we do? Do you want to bang Ivanka? You want to bang Melania? You want to bang Darren? You want to bang Darren? He's like 6'9". You can 69 with a 6'9". What do you think? The whole thing, Reed, is so incredible.
It is, really is.
I mean, DeSantis. I mean, I think if the king announces, he clears the whole field, the whole GOP field in a primary.
Yeah, I mean, Trump was weird. Like, people think he was anti-establishment, but he took most of the establishment with him too. There's just a few dissenters, like the Bushes hated him because of what he said when he was running, and then Kasich doesn't like him, and then like the Lincoln Project. But Giuliani, Mike Pompeo, like all those fucking guys, they all lined up right behind him. So this idea that he doesn't have the establishment on his side, like, I mean, of course he does,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, look at some of these chats. Support Eric Jackman, Reed Coverdale. Look at all the frogs, dude. The frogs are cute, Reed.
Dude, I'm living being in the Dawson cult. It's something I didn't really ever expect in my life, and there I am. So
part of the Dawson world it's something else.
I disagree. If anyone runs against Kamala Harris, they will win. I don't care who it is. I can't. She's the most unpopular vice president in United States history.
It's just gross.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. You actually don't really ever see her. You never see Kamala.
So I know this will piss off a lot of people in the comments, and we did a whole 4 Horsemen on this with Scott Horton, or half of it at least. But I do think Trump lost the election. I do think there was fraud, but I still think he lost. And I think it was because Joe Biden, as retarded as he is, he was still more likable than Trump. Like, he was just like a stupid old man. So people who don't know that he wrote the 1994 the 1994 crime bill, or that he voted for the war in Iraq, or that he drafted the first Patriot Act. They were like, oh, he's a stupid old man. At least he's not a mean asshole like Trump. So they voted for him. Everybody hates Kamala Harris. Like, she would have lost to Trump easily. Like, there's no way she would have beaten him. She's Hillary Clinton, but more like conniving and snarky. I mean, nobody likes her. Most Democrats don't even like her.
She's more opportunistic, more careerist. Yeah.
There's no way she'll beat anyone in 2024.
No. Tulsi ended the thing with more delegates than she did, right? After she sunk her battleship.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I think, Kamala's horrible. God, she's fucking horrible. Yeah, yeah.
This is the most unpopular vice president in history. That's like...
Maybe, probably more unpopular than Dick Cheney. That's saying a lot. Oh.
That's saying a lot. I mean, that's a statistic, though, that she's the most unpopular vice president in American history right now. Well, that's a statistic. So, less popular than Dick Cheney.
I would say Dick Cheney is, if he's not the most ghoulish vice president, he's one of the most ghoulish. I mean, and certainly one of the most powerful. And then you compare that to Mike Pence. Mike Pence is one of the most feckless and unpowerful vice presidents. Yeah. And he got the evangelical vote for the king. And the king he's like, oh, did Mike make you pray? Did Mike make you pray?
Hey, Eric, could you highlight Steve's comment?
Which one?
I don't know. The most recent one, I think.
Oh, yeah. I agree with Reed. If we had anything approaching free and fair elections,
I don't think she pulled it off. Like even, I mean, I think there was a decent amount of fraud, but I mean, Biden was not hated last year. Like he just wasn't. I mean, I think he's hated more now just because of how everything's going. But last year, like it was, oh, that's Obama's vice president, and he was kind of cool, I guess. You know, I mean, people just didn't know anything about him. They didn't know anything about his history, anything about the stuff he's done. Like, no one really exposed Biden on the stage. Like, Trump didn't take Biden down like he did the Republican nominees in 20.
Or like when he did with the crooked in 16.
Yeah,
to some extent.
It just didn't stick because he was calling him a communist. Was Joe Biden a communist? Like, I mean, he's
retarded.
He's a horrible person, but he's not a communist. And
no,
you know, so the exposure, like the way Kamala Harris was exposed by Tulsi, was accurate and it was, you know, precise and
fucking devastating.
It just brought her down. Like Trump's attacks on Biden, they just didn't stick because they didn't work. Like, I mean. First of all, Trump couldn't make one that would land. Like he would contradict himself. He'd be like, Joe Biden wrote the 1994 crime bill, terrible. And then in like the second half of the sentence, he's soft on crime. He'll, you know, I mean, it was like, which one is it? Is he soft?
He's a candidate of Black Lives Matter.
No,
it was full retard.
Yeah. So I just think that Biden had way better PR than Kamala Harris would be able to have. Like, you can't make Kamala Harris look good, I don't think. I don't think anyone could.
No. Mike, and you made the point, Mike, that just enough people were like sick of Donald Trump.
There was fatigue, yeah. There was just enough people. It's not even that they love Biden. They were just...
Yeah. Dude, so in my family in 2016, no one voted for Hillary or Trump. I voted for Gary Johnson. So did my brothers. My sister voted for Jill Stein. My parents didn't write anyone in.
I voted for Jill Stein too. So hey to your sister.
This last time, my dad and I voted Libertarian. Everyone else voted for Biden because they were just sick.
Yeah, they're sick of him. They're sick of him.
It's not. They don't like Biden. They didn't even know. And I tried to convince them to change their minds. I was showing them all this shit about Biden. But they didn't care. They're just like, I'm sick of having Trump in there. He's such an obnoxious asshole. And
I think it's even beyond that. I think what I've noticed, Reed, I think is the thing is people are sick of other people being angry and upset and tethering their entire life and their experience to hating Donald Trump. So they were like, God, if I can make this go away, I'll vote for Biden. I don't even give a fuck. I only think about politics the day of the election. And that's most of our country. Whereas like the three of us obsess over the minutia for constantly. You have people who are like, they don't even know who's running. They don't know who's in the ticket. They're not partisans. They're not this. They're not that. They're like, boy, I'm just really sick of everyone being angry about Donald Trump, so I'm going to vote for Biden. I think that was a lot of that too.
Yeah, dude. I mean, my brother who voted for Joe Biden, he's basically, his political views are basically mine. So it didn't make any sense to vote for Joe Biden. He just didn't care. Like he wasn't digging into it like I do or like you guys do. He didn't know anything about him. He just knew that he was sick of Trump.
Yeah.
But if you asked him, like, what do you think about the wars? My brother would want to end all the wars. He doesn't want any gun laws. He doesn't want any regulations. But he voted for Biden. And it's like the antithesis of everything my brother stands for. But he was just so fucking sick of Donald Trump. And so many people were like that.
Yeah.
I got to say, my thing is, dude, Reed, and I posted this in 2016 when Trump got elected. And you can find the post. I said, everybody who thinks that Trump is the end of the world, he's Hitler, he's the second coming of the Reich, he's this, he's that, he's Damien, he's Endgame, he's Oblivion.
He's the second Third Reich.
Yeah, whatever. I'm like, guys, hold on a second. We all live in the United States of America. We're going to be fine. And guess what? In 4 years, you can vote them out and you can vote for Hillary or Biden. Guess what happened in 4 years?
I voted for Biden.
You had that fucking chance. And this is what I say to my MAGA friends and my MAGA brethren, friends and family who I love, just like my family who love Hillary. This is my message to them. This is what I said to them when Biden got elected. And I agree with what you said, Reed. I think Biden did win the election because people were so fucking sick of how triggered and horrible and nasty everybody was to each other. I just want an adult in the room. I just want things to go back to normal. I just want X, Y, and Z, which is all bullshit. It's all whatever. But it's semantics. It's a game. It's a fucking show. It's a Truman Show. I said, look, Biden's in there. In 4 years, you can vote Trump back in, or you can vote for DeSantis, whatever fucking clown you want. Bottom line, the same shit's going to continue that I've been talking about for the better part of 2 decades.
So we've unlocked something here. Whoever you say the two options are going to be is who they're going to be. So we need you to start saying Dave Smith and Justin Amash. Like you can, in 4 years, you can vote Dave Smith or Justin Amash in, and then we'll end up with one of those guys. Yeah.
Well, I got to say, I had inside track for 2016. I was told by a former CIA agent that not only was Hillary going to be the nominee, but they already made a deal with Tim Kaine, which was true. Which was completely true. And I only really believed that Trump was going to win or could win when I was at his rally the night before the election. I was up in the nosebleed seats texting with Eric, who was on the floor dressed as Donald Trump. I'm like, dude, this is fucking scary. This is triumph of the will. This is full brown shirt. He could win. My text said he could win tomorrow. He did, and that was it. Because I really believed Hillary was going to win the entire time. Just like anybody. But I do think now it's either going to be Trump or DeSantis for 2020 for the Republican. For the Libertarian, yes, Amash or Dave Smith, I would be very happy with that ticket. I don't know what the configuration is going to be, but I would love to see that because I think that's a big change. I think that goes away from just trying to pull somebody from the Republican Party who's not really libertarian, who never showed any libertarian ideology before a year or two. Like Amash, Amash opposed the king when the king was in office and left the Republican Party. And we've always kind of known Amash is really, to his core, kind of a libertarian. So as
much as the Koch brothers would let him.
Yeah.
Dave is way better than Amash.
He is. Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning of this year, I remember talking with you guys, like I was all about Amash because I didn't think we had anyone else.
Yeah.
And then
make Dawson Secretary of Treasury.
Oh God. I think you should be I think he should be our ambassador to Israel.
Dawson? Yeah. He's like, I'll be shooting myself and jump off a tower. Jump off a building.
But yeah, Dave has really shown me. He really showed me in like the first few months of this year that I think he has what it takes to. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he has the ability to bring people together and really inspire people,
and younger people too, because he's barely 40.
Yeah, I mean, you show Amash to people, and they're like, "Yeah, it seems like
a nerd. This guy's a fucking nerd.
He's kind of cute." Yeah,
but I mean, you show Dave to people, and they're like, "Whoa, who is this guy?" Like, I want to know more about this guy. And whenever I have him on my show, it gets the most views by far. And dude, like my MAGA friends, my progressive friends, like they all like him. They're all like, "Whoa, who is?" And Amash is just. I mean, I don't have anything against Amash. He's just not interesting. And he was all I thought we had, but I was wrong. Like, I think Dave is a great option, and I'm all on board Dave 2024. So.
I want to see. Yeah, I'd like to see what he does.
Yeah, I didn't know about Dave at all, Reed, until you told me about him. I'd never heard of him. I never saw his stuff, and then I watched him. I'm like, yeah, he's anyone who's gonna just like fucking shout out about Ron Paul and want to get back to that core. Libertarian ideals, and just not fucking shrug aside or ignore Ron Paul or what he sparked, but embrace it and put it forward as this is what libertarianism is all about. I'm all for that.
Dude, he went on the Four Horsemen with us, and then he goes on Tower Gang, and then he goes on Reason with Nick Gillespie, and he's getting along with all of those factions. I'm like, okay, like, I'm sorry, but Amash would not do the Four Horsemen with us, I don't think. I'll ask him, but I don't think.
Oh, you should get him. Try and get him.
I'll ask him. Maybe he'll prove me wrong.
I'd love to talk to Justin and have him on and give him a forum and a platform. But the dude plays it safe. He's like cultivating an image, and he's kind of I don't know. I don't really hear from him a lot, man. Dave is out there, man. He meeting people. He came to PorkFest. comedians are out there with the people. They have the pulse of what's really going on. So that's where I think Dave has an advantage over Justin.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because Dave is really actually like a city slicker type of guy because he grew up in New York or whatever, but he understands how normal people in the country think. If you listen to, I feel like I jive with him, even though I'm not. I guess I live in the city now, but I haven't for most of my life. But like the way he talks, he understands the average person, And you look at Amash's Twitter threads, and they're just like, they're great, but they're super, super intellectual, super nerdy, super
selective, very selective.
Like it's not going to resonate with anyone. Like, I had Peter Schiff on this morning. That guy is a genius, but he can talk in a way that a normie could listen to him for hours and have their mind blown about economics because he knows how to dumb it down and he knows how to, get people fired up. And that's what Dave is also good at. That's what you need. You need someone who understands the theory and can amaze the intellectuals, but also who the normies can understand and who the normies want to listen to. You need both of those things.
Dave's funny, but he's an incredibly eloquent speaker.
Yeah.
He's very eloquent and he's very on point with the message. So I'm very excited to see what he does. And if he runs and I could see myself supporting Dave Smith and publicly like getting behind him and encouraging my network and my friends to support him and certainly friends of the show. Like we said earlier, it's just we're just constantly disappointed by the candidates. Are we going to go and support like Marco Rubio or like Martin O'Malley or like Hillary Clinton or Jeb Bush? How about somebody who actually speaks to the American people and the real problems that we're facing, whether it's our monetary and our fiscal issues, our foreign policy issues. Just trying to pay the bills and live paycheck to paycheck. And I think Dave Smith didn't come from money. He talks about it in Legion of Skanks, his comedy podcast, how for many years he was a working comic, and he still is very much a working comic, touring all around the country. He's just now finally getting into a spot where he's kind of comfortable financially, and he's like 40 years old. So hey, he gets it. He gets it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've become really good friends with Spike Cohen over the last few months. What I want to see is a Dave Smith, Justin Amash, Spike Cohen primary.
Big three.
All three of those guys know their stuff inside and out, and they all have different forms of messaging. I think Spike and Dave are a little more similar, but they reach slightly different demographics. They're a little bit different how they go about things. If the three of those guys could run a competitive civil race against each other, that would draw so much attention from everywhere. If they could end up on Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, Jimmy Dore,
Fox.
like all those. Fox.
Tucker, aloha Tucker, aloha Tucker.
That would be amazing. Because so many people want their favorite, whoever it is, Dave, Amash, to just walk in and get the nomination. I don't want that. I don't want them to sling mud at each other. I want it to stay civil, and I think it will with those three. But I want to see like a competitive race where the ideas are really battled out, and we draw a lot of attention to people, and they want to see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Gary got the most. What did Gary get? 3 million at the height when 2016. Did Gary get 2 or 3 million?
3.5 million, I think. Right.
Yeah. We have to go up from there. For
2024 with Spike and Dave and Amash, what if we think they're all cute and have something to say? We want them to all be there.
I'm fine with it. A 3-way ticket. I don't care.
They're all adorable. All of them.
I love how you put it that way, like objectifying them, like they're like fucking like Barbies.
Yeah,
but they
in their own way, they're all so cute in their own
adorable.
way.
Yeah, they're adorable. Yeah. Dude, Rand's adorable. I know we said probably
Rand's cute. Yeah, Rand is cute.
I don't know about adorable. He's just cute.
He's cute.
Oh, he's pocket size. I'm sorry. He's pocket size. Yeah.
He's like Tom Woods of that picture.
Yeah, Reed was able to actually take Tom Woods' mic and put him in his pocket.
Reed's like, because I'm 6 foot. People think I'm short, but I'm like 6 foot.
He's like, I'm not a manlet.
Yeah, I know, and it's a lot of it's a beauty contest. It's a high school fucking talent show, but at the end of the day, it is a competition of ideas, and I would love to see something where there's no mudslinging, no attacks, and it is run clean, and it is based on an exchange of ideas. And libertarians have kind of had for the most part, I think, have had they've been at the forefront of that. They've been able to for the most part, maybe not recently. Maybe I know there's been some shit, but the ideas are there, man. I mean, you're seeing now, certainly with the drug war. I mean, this is becoming a thing now with marijuana. States are knocking like dominoes. They're knocking like dominoes, whether it's medical or personal use or whatever it is. And libertarians are at the forefront of that. So people can call it. People can call it.
My friend Clint from Liberty Lockdown, or my husband, for some of those who are watching, they'll get the joke.
They ship you guys big time. He bought me breakfast.
He made the point that with the war on drugs, they've been telling you what you can't put into your body, and now they suddenly feel like they can tell you what you have to put in your body.
Yeah.
It's all related. So it's like, do you own yourself or do you not own yourself? We haven't established that in the past.
Oh, it's my body, my choice up to a point.
Right. Whoa, I got mistakes.
I had to do that to punctuate my point, for all my liberal friends, Yeah, my liberal friends who love George Bush now, they don't even want to have a discussion. Reed, they don't even want to talk to me.
That's the resistance leader, George Bush.
They're like, oh, you're MAGA now. It's like, I'm not MAGA. You don't even want to have an honest discussion while you're lapping George Bush's jizz.
Yeah, dude, they like George Bush, Billy Crystal, Mitt Romney, fucking what's his face there, John Kasich. It's just like, it's disgusting.
Gross.
I don't even know, man. I'm just rest in peace, Charlie Watts. It's Charlie Watts. Rest in peace, and one of the greatest drummers that ever lived.
I agree with Steve here.
Dave Smith as a candidate gets millions of people open to the ideas of libertarian anarchism in a way that few others running could. Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, Reed, what is a lot of people have asked me this question. What is an ancap? What is that to you? What does that mean? What's the definition?
So many people act like capitalism is a system, like you need a government to have capitalism, where I don't think that's the case. Capitalism is voluntary transactions between
exchange
people. So the first caveman that had a rock that the other caveman wanted, the first time they realized, hey, I don't need to kill you to get what I want from you. I just need to give you a product or a service that you want so that you'll give that to me. That's when capitalism was born. So capitalism does not require government or force. It's actually the natural, peaceful way for humans to interact with each other. So that's what an ANCAP is someone who believes in voluntary interactions. And the only time you should use force is when it's protecting yourself, from force that someone else has used against you. So that's basically what an ANCAP is.
Right. And
that's what I'd call myself at this point.
Yeah. And I'm with Steve on that Dave is very articulate about that and getting across what that is, because when I don't know, maybe when soys or normies or whoever hears anarchists, they just think about burning shit and fucking yeah, but that couldn't be further from what the reality is.
They don't want shit to burn. They want to protect property. Property is sacred. Your private property and your sovereignty is sacred. And that's what jives with individual liberty, and that's what people who are around you who subscribe to that ideology will agree with. Like you don't fuck with people's shit, or their sovereignty, and that includes their freedom of speech, which has been so lost on both parties for the last 20 years. It's not even funny. Now it just happens to be people who are like quote unquote like liberals or neoliberals or whatever it is who are not cool with it. But Republicans were not cool with it for a while too. Like when you were anti-war 15, 20 years ago, you were called a communist or a socialist or a anti-American or whatever. So
yeah,
it's full retard on all sides.
I got a question for you guys. Name me one thing that the Democrats have control over that the Republicans, or here, let's put it this way instead, because Republicans and Democrats kind of have switched over the last 150 years. But name me one thing that the liberals have control over now that the conservatives didn't give them the control over initially. So, for example, gun control. That's a conservative thing that really took off. Like Reagan, when he was governor of California, he really went hard on gun control because of the Black Panthers. And, you know, that's where that sort of started gaining steam, was the idea like, oh, these dangerous black anarchists are going to get, you know, out of hand with this. Or, you know, like the Patriot Act, like people are worried about their free speech being cucked by the liberals now. And it's like, well, where did you guys start that? With the Patriot Act, or, you know, with cancel culture, like you said, that sort of started under the Republicans with like trying to get the Dixie Chicks banned. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's agreed. That's such a great point. And guess what? I supported the Dixie Chicks at that time. And I'm not even a country music fan.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why the Republicans exist other than to run cover for the Democrats and give them the power over something that they want to complain about the next term. That's all the Republicans do. Like, the Republicans are only any good under Democrat rule. That's when they sound like a little bit like they're going to fight against what's going on. But
man, we're the rebellion. We're the rebellion. No, I mean,
like they care about fiscal cliff.
I mean, dude, how about fucking Tip O'Neill? I don't know if you're familiar with Tip O'Neill, who was a long-serving member of Congress. Or no, was he Massachusetts? Yeah, he was in Congress in Massachusetts
when Reagan was in there.
Okay, so and they talk about bipartisanship. You know, they talk. You know, Tip O'Neill has a book about bipartisan. Like George Carlin, if he says bipartisan, it means they're both fucking you together. They're both fucking the people together, and he's right about that. So, yeah, Reed, I think you're absolutely right, dude. And I think people have very short-term memories about this very subject, and that they selectively choose to get mad when one party's in power. When in reality, they should. It doesn't matter who's in power. They should look at how it affects the American people and how it impacts any kind of rights or freedom of speech or taxation or monetary policy or foreign policy or anything that's unconstitutional. And so much of it is unconstitutional ultimately at the end of the day that it's just been completely bastardized, and it's both parties are to blame for that. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, dude, but like I agree. Like I think a lot of the oppression and a lot of the bullshit and censorship did come from the Republicans 15, 20 years ago that we're now seeing coming from the Democrats. And that's why I fucking hate both parties. That's why I'm so disgusted by the failure of both parties to stand up for the truth in our country consistently throughout my entire life. And that's why when there's one person from either party, whether it's Rand Paul or Ron Paul or Cynthia McKinney or John F. Kennedy or Bob Bowman, who was the Democratic congressional nominee in 2006 from Florida, who I supported, who speaks the truth, you have my support, and you will always have my support. But it's very few and far between.
Yeah, well, I think the true icon of bipartisanship was the maverick John McCain, whose death anniversary was just a few days ago.
Jesus
and
Christ.
I was celebrating pretty hard on Twitter. I lost at least 300 followers over it. I went pretty hard.
Dude, Reed, you're harsh on social media, man. You're a lot harsher than dude. My hat's off to you. Like, dude, you're way nicer in person. I don't know. Like dude, and believe me, Reed, I get it. I totally get it, and I support it. But man, I don't do that, and I don't know if that's a difference of a generation or style. But yeah, you're very harsh, very harsh.
We have different. But I mean, you know, we agree, Reed, that the tumor took a suicide mission, right? Like going in with McCain.
That sounds like some Ryan Dawson rhetoric.
It is, yeah. Like I posted a an X-ray of a tumor.
I saw that. That was incredible.
Thank you for your service or something. I forget what I said. Something like that.
I think the thing is on a human level, Mike, because our father died of the same brain tumor that John McCain died from. I feel for Meghan McCain a little bit.
I mean, on a human level, but is she human?
She's half lizard because her father.
Oh yeah, totally. But lizards can even have love,
But at the same time, Mike, what our dad did with his 61 years and what John McCain did with his 81.
He had nice government health care.
What he did with his time on Earth, what our dad did on his, the both brain tumor killed both of them. The same brain tumor.
So I'll just say this: I've gotten
and Hunter. No, excuse me. It killed Bo. No, I don't remember. Who did it kill?
Bo, Mr. Biden.
It killed Bo and it killed JFK's brother. I just want to say Hersher.
It killed John McCain. It killed the Jackman's father. It killed Bo, and it killed Teddy Kennedy.
Look, I mean, maybe because we are human, and you and I, the Jackman family have never profited from war, and we don't want to profit from war. The McCain family has. So my heart goes out to the McCain family for dealing with glioblastoma because I know very well what that is. Now, Meghan McCain made millions of dollars to talk about on View. I'm on a YouTube live stream making a beer. I make enough money to buy beer. So on a human level, I empathize and I sympathize with that. And I know how fucking hard that is. But it would be a little bit easier if I had like $5 million. Maybe. So, I don't know.
I want to speak to me being the devil on social media because I am. Let's fully admit that. But
because you look evil because of your mustache. Or no, what's the thing? Reed looks like a villain.
Dude, Reed's he's just not afraid to be base.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, my Twitter name is.
They don't know.
Based extremist right now.
They don't know you in person, Reed. They've never had shin plates with you in person.
No. I've added based because that's one of the signifiers that you're, one of the people that needs to, be watched or whatever if you say the word based. So I'm based extremist now. But I've always been good at this type of humor. And when I first had a big online presence, I still did it occasionally, but I would just back off on it a little bit. But then what I realized is nobody else, who's not in an anonymous account is willing to say these things because they can't, because they'll lose their job, because they'll get in trouble, because their family will think something of them. I don't have any of those dangers. Like my family will think my immediate family, they already know how fucked up my sense of humor is. And
well, dude, you tried to talk your sister out of joining the military, right? You told her how you felt.
I told my sister, you're not going to be killing Nazis. You're not going to be killing Nazis in Normandy. You are going to be blowing up a neighborhood to enrich a Raytheon weapons contractor.
Dude, that's
so fucking good. Dude.
I mean, that's just who I am. So
dude, that's real. I know, and that's my thing, dude. That's why it's all right, you offended? No, I'm not offended by that. I'm not offended. I'm not offended by cancer jokes. Dude, I've made cancer jokes. It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
My father made cancer jokes when he was dying from cancer.
Right.
So that's my complete and unabashed support for freedom of speech. And whether it makes me fucking feel sad or it doesn't really, you know what I'm offended by? I'm offended by John Bolton and Henry Kissinger.
Yeah.
And McCain's policies, which is what Reed's getting to.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but continue.
The other thing I wanted to say is I've gotten messages from people that some watching might be surprised, thanking me for making those types of tweets because they can't. And I said, so I was telling this guy that, hey, I'm in a weird spot because I'm friends with all the shit posters and the edgelords like Ryan Dotson and Pete Quinones and all those guys. But I'm also friends with, Nick Gillespie and Jack Hunter and the more polished professional people. So the guy said, it's a cool place to be. And we all appreciate you because you can just say whatever the fuck you want and it doesn't get you in trouble. And I've gotten messages when I went after Marianne Williamson, who totally deserved. By the way, I bullied Marianne Williamson.
Dude, that was disgusting. But I'm here for it. I mean, Reed, I wouldn't have done that, and I like her personally. I think You definitely, dude. You bullied her, dude. It was horrible. I was
Eric,
like, I read your post. I was like, oh.
Eric, did I not bully her into submission? Did she not mine on Afghanistan?
That was disgusting.
Eric,
you did. You did, and it was just it was just something I couldn't be a part of it because.
Oh, I understand. But
because I've had I hung out with Mary Williamson for a couple of hours in real life in person.
Sure. By the way, I almost ended up on a podcast with her and Justin O'Donnell. That would have been. We
need to make that happen. I believe it could still happen.
But Eric, I did bully her into being an anti-interventionist. It did happen.
Good.
So, but here's I had dozens of people message me thanking me for calling her out on her bullshit on that. And I forget who the other one was. I did the same. I mean, I do this. I just take people down because it's what I do. And I get messages like thanking me, and they're like, I wish I could say that, but I'd get in trouble. So, and I don't, my boss is based. Thank you, boss. Like I could say the most horrendous things ever, and he'd probably give me a raise. Like the worse, worse it is. Like that's where I am. So I feel like being in that position that I'm in where it doesn't affect me, and I do mean everything I say. I mean, sometimes I'm hyperbolic, but I definitely mean it. It's just a place. I don't know. I'm like the George Carlin of the Libertarian Party. That's kind of how I, look at myself right now.
No, I'm here for it, but there's a disconnect between how shit comes across on Twitter and social media, and it's different than being face to face with somebody.
Sure.
So, but I truly believe that you could be on a podcast. There will eventually be a time where you're going to be with the Orb Mom. Dude, I love Orb Mommy. Dude, her performance at the debates, the little bit of time that they gave her, that was fucking everything.
Hey, she admitted she was wrong and turned around. So
what was it all about? What was she? What was your umbrage? Like your total initial umbrage with Marianne?
Okay, so the first thing was she was telling incrementalists that we don't have time for incrementalism. Things are falling apart right now. And so I asked her, wait, didn't you vote for Joe Biden? And she said, yes, and I would again. I would prefer a measured decline to a straight descent. So she's decrying incrementalism in the first half, and then she's immediately endorsing it. So I said, so shut the fuck up then. And that was the one that blew up. It got tons and tons of likes and whatever. And so then I just started trolling her. But then what she did is she agreed with Billy Crystal on Afghanistan. So Billy Crystal was talking about how the Taliban treats women and how we need to maintain a troop presence there. And she said, typically I disagree with having a troop presence in another country, but given their treatment of women, I do support it now. And so then she made tweet after tweet about how we need to stay in Afghanistan. We need a troop presence there to protect the women. So I was going hard after her. And then I think it was Misty Winston, who's been on my show once. I've been on hers. She called out. She ended up calling her out too at some point, and then somehow it clicked with Marianne. Like, oh, that's what it was. Misty shared a post from the CIA or something that the CIA had put out about how they were going to try to use feminism to encourage feminism. And so then she saw that and she said, okay, I was wrong here. So then I took credit for bullying her into submission, but it wasn't completely me. I think it was also just a clicking of like, oh, duh, that's what they're doing. And so I don't have any beef with Marianne anymore, because she's decrying everything she said the last month, and she's actively saying we should get out of Afghanistan now. So
that could be because of your methods. That might be because of your methods, Reed.
Yeah, well, different methods work for different people. So.
Right. I mean, your methods are not my methods. I don't. What are you, like 25, 26?
27.
You just turned 27 this year, right?
Right.
So maybe when I was younger than 27, I probably would have done or said, and I know I have, a very similar rhetoric, and it would have been aimed at like Dick Cheney or whatever. Or so my thing is like I understand why you were doing, and I agree with you and what you were saying, but it's I don't know. There's some quote about talking to people with honey. You know, if you want people to, you got to pour honey on them.
Yeah,
get them onto your side. And believe me, like
like if I meet some guy on the road, or if I have some guy on a podcast, I'm gonna talk to them very differently. Like,
your persona is a lot different during your interviews than it is as opposed to your Twitter and Facebook persona.
Right. And Facebook isn't nearly as bad as Twitter. Twitter is definitely the worst. Like Facebook,
I'm not on. I don't do Twitter, dude. I can't. Eric does Twitter. I can't fuck. And Eric was banned on Facebook for a Hillary meme that we put up 2 fucking years ago.
Yeah, I know. So what I've realized Twitter is good for is getting attention, and that's literally it. Like, Twitter is a place to promote yourself and grab people's attention. Like, as far as trying to get into these threads, trying to convince people, change their minds, it's just a waste of time. So that's all I use it for now. And I do have a lot of leftists and liberals and MAGA people who follow me. My methods have worked, so I understand they're not yours.
No, but you're right though, Reed. A lot of what they do is worse than what you're. I don't want to say. I'm not saying what you're doing is bad.
No. I get that.
I'm just saying now in the modern internet age, it's way worse than what you're doing. So I support you. I've always supported you, and I will continue, no matter how fucking cringe. I mean, some of the things you posted are really cringe, but I support, dude. I support it 100%, and I would never turn my back on you, and I would never turn my back on Eric or Ryan Dawson. And
speaking of people putting cringe things on the internet,
Ryan, yeah. Oh no, I mean, I know we've been over this a million times, but my thing is, and this has been my deal since I was conscious of politics or government or whatever I learned about the Constitution or anything. Dude, there's going to be different methods. There's going to be different styles. There's going to be different ways to get the message out. But what really shines through, Reed, is your fucking heart and your passion and how real you are about it. And it's very refreshing. And I keep doing it, like, look, just because I don't do it that way or Eric's nice on Twitter or whatever, like, believe me, man, it's
Eric will retweet him occasionally. Like I'll send him to him, and occasionally he'll be like, okay, I'll do that one. I understand.
Reed, you got the fire, you got the fight, man. And I like some of this shit that I said tonight. I've been saying it since I was like 17. That's almost 20 years ago. So it's like you get tired, you get worn down, you get fucking, if you want to reach someone, you gotta pour a little sugar on it sometimes. But I appreciate the blunt shit. I appreciate to the point. But that's base too. Like, you attacking Marion, that's fucking base. Like, yeah, I spent an afternoon with her, but I support that.
Yeah. Well, I really am trying to take the George Carlin approach, because he really tapped into something that I haven't seen anyone tap into since he died. Like, he was just able to make people realize how ridiculous something was.
Yeah.
Without sugarcoating it at all. He wouldn't like.
Absolutely. But I also think you can also still be respectful and be nice about that. Like one of the last things I did, I confront. Yeah, I know. And he was fucking hysterical. He's one of the top 3 comics of all time. I mean,
yeah.
But when I confronted Jeb Bush, I was like polite about it, but I also rubbed his nose in shit in a nice way. Yeah. So I think it can be done that way. It can be done that way without coming across as an asshole or an attack mode. Or if you have the facts and you've got the truth on your side, they might laugh at you, which they did. They laughed at me, and we've been laughed at, whatever. But there's a way to do it where you can kind of win over consensus. So it's just. So
I think a multilateral approach with this stuff is good, because
I agree.
People that will be turned off by me, but then there are people who might not be inspired by you necessarily. So like, and then Eric's got a slightly different thing. Dave Smith's got a slightly different thing. Larry Sharp's got it. Like, we've all got, and Larry Sharp, by the way, endorses this idea I'm talking about. Like, he says, don't discourage anyone from how they're about something unless they're preaching the wrong message. So as long as you're all selling the same product, whatever.
Reed, you've been preaching the right message the entire fucking time. And that's why you have my support. My methods are not the same as yours, but you have my fucking complete support.
Yeah. So I should tell you guys this. When I think it was in 2019, so before I got involved in the Tulsi campaign, I ran this this shit posting account on Facebook. So I was doing line work, right? And I was what's called a digger. It was on a digger truck for setting poles. I'm not making this up. That's what it's called. So you have an auger and you go around drilling the holes and then you set the poles, whatever. That was my job. And the linemen who were up in the bucket, they always looked down on the diggers. They thought they were like scum or whatever. You're just a pole setter or whatever. But linemen are like the biggest prima donnas ever. They're so easy to make fun of. So I made this shit posting account on Facebook where I went into these huge line work groups with like hundreds of thousands of people, and I would just make these satirical posts. So it would be me setting a pole in the middle of a field with no wires around or everything, and I would be like, "Wow, that was the hardest pole I've ever set, but I did it all by myself," like bragging. And so then some people would fall for the bait. They'd be like, "Oh, this guy thinks he's king shit," and then they'd start, "That's nothing. I did this 4 days ago," and then I'd just like fire back at him like, "No, you didn't. And so then this thing kept growing and growing, and within 2 weeks, I had 1,000 followers on Facebook, and I was shit posting to this site called Line Junk, I think, and I would make these ridiculous posts full of profanity, just like completely unrealistic, and the page would repost them, so like hundreds of thousands of people would see them, and it would be getting hundreds of comments. And so I just knew how to trigger everyone because I'd see the way they respond, and then I just go in and just be like, "Oh yeah, you think you're so cool? I bet you couldn't do this," and then drop it, and then they'd blow up. So this is it's a skill I've had.
So it goes back for you, yeah, because you're right. I mean, being nice to is not attention getting, and being factual, being nice, you're not going to get.
Right.
You're probably not going to get attention.
If you can mix it, and I do, Eric knows on Twitter,
it's an art form. You're fucking really good at it.
I mean, because Eric knows I don't do nothing but shit post. It's probably about half and half. Like half is serious, half is like ridiculous crap.
Yes, satirical.
There's a point to all of it, though, Reed.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
My favorites are actually when I do the Israel BoomerCon, MAGA posts where it's all caps with intentional spelling mistakes and 50 Israeli flags. And, those are the best because those people don't know what to do with those.
But so Reed, how have you found when you meet someone in person who doesn't agree, not that they don't agree with you, but they just don't know? How do you talk to those people and educate them and get them to come on, not just your side, but just to understand the knowledge that you know? And that's something that I've certainly dealt with, because sometimes you're talking to someone who's they were your teacher, or they're way older than you, and they're 50 or 60 or whatever, and you're like, this person's fucking clueless.
Yeah, dude. So
how do I talk to this person?
Those shocking posts, like the one I made about McCain, where. So for those of you who don't know, there was
which you're not wrong about. You're not wrong about.
Exactly. That's the whole point. So there's a picture of Hitler at the bottom. And then I start off I don't think we should respect genocidal maniacs even after they're dead. People who murder innocent civilians to gain political power are scumbags. And then at the bottom I say, by the way, I'm talking about John McCain, picture unrelated. So the whole point of that is while you're reading that, you obviously think I'm talking about Hitler.
Right.
And then you get to the bottom and you're like, whoa, shit, this is John McCain. So people are going to have a reaction to that. Some people will just say, fuck you, but some people, they're just like, whoa, I mean, you're kind of right. Or if they don't know anything about it, they'll be like, what are you talking about here? And then you say, hey, have you ever heard of the Northern Storm Brigade? which is basically part of, I forget if that's part of ISIS, right? The Northern Storm Brigade, or was that Al-Qaeda in Iraq that John McCain met with? And we've sold all of
Syria.
McCain and the Taliban, yeah. McCain.
Yeah. So
there's a photo of McCain with I think the Taliban or Al Qaeda.
I think it's Al Qaeda, but and you talk about all the policies he's supported throughout the decades, and then you could tell people hey, how is this any different than Hitler? It's an imperialism. It's genocide. It's killing. Oh my God.
Oh no. Oh no.
Here comes Ryan Dawson with the chair.
I'm wearing this backwards.
Donald Trump takes down Vince McMahon.
Here comes Ryan.
The corporate takeover. The corporate takeover. Gotta let that. Jim Ross made wrestling.
He died, right? May he rest in peace. I think he died.
Dude, how
No,
base?
JR is alive.
Is he really? Is he?
Yeah,
Wait,
he's
Ryan.
in AEW.
Ryan, is the
You
Northern
remember-
Storm Brigade Al Qaeda? The ones that
Excuse me, sorry, a lot of yelling. What'd you say?
The Northern Storm Brigade, is that Al Qaeda that John McCain met with?
No, well, yeah, it's an Al Qaeda branch. So what they did, John McCain met with Aral al-Sham too. My buddy Michael Kyles is the one that got the photos leaked about that. He traced so they had the photographs, and he's the guy that like grabbed the heads and compared them to others and said, "This is this guy, this is that guy, this is this guy." And McCain was notorious for meeting with our enemies. I said when he died, the Viet Cong and the and Al Qaeda had their flags at half mast. Like they should. When they put the American flag on his coffin, it almost burst into flames. Like it should have been Al Qaeda on there.
So Ryan, the tumor went on a suicide mission.
Hey, do you see my name?
He died doing what he loved.
Oh yeah, he's chasing a kid. Yeah, chasing a minor.
Yeah, what does Skater and I do, right?
That was a suicide mission, right?
Oh, easily. I mean, it's he's part of the Keating Five. Actually, Ryan. John McCain,
I got maps on that. You want to bash McCain? Because I didn't even know what y'all were going to be talking about, but
we were on McCain.
We got that stuff.
Dude,
there he is.
All I can say, Mike, is here comes Ryan Dawson with a chair.
Oh fuck! So you knew.
This is
right,
a steel chair.
So Ryan, that McCain used the same plane that they flew the Saudis and the Bin Ladens out of the country from that Christian network.
Well, McCain slipped up really bad. He was on Letterman. It was October 15th, and he's like talking about anthrax and saying it may have come from Iraq. Just reverberating what James Woolsey, former CIA director picked by Epstein, had said, and the Weekly Standard have been writing about this crap, specifically like Fred Barnes and Gary Schmidt and then Robert Kagan.
Oh, dude, Gary Schmidt,
husband of Victoria Nuland of Ukraine infamy, right? But he got up there and he said, he first talks about anthrax, blah, 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 lie, because Iraq did not have anthrax. But that is officially why the legal reason for going to war is saying, hey, look, Colin Powell made a speech where he waved around a mock vial of anthrax, said they're in violation of UN Resolution 1441. So he said that. So phase one's Afghanistan. And then he got up there and said, the second phase is Iraq. Some of this anthrax may have come, and he tells a lie. What do you mean the second phase is Iraq? What was the first phase? Well, procuring the opium in Afghanistan, and so they could pay Al Qaeda, right? And he sits up there, and they didn't question him on it or anything. He's on the know, and that's why I had the McCain canceled tour date shirt where I had the zombified McCain on the front and on the back. On the back of the shirt, I'd show you the commercial. It's not my stream, so I can't slide it in. But on the back of the shirt, it had places he was never going to visit anymore. So it was like, because all the tour dates were canceled, it had a slash to it. So it's had like Vietnam, 5-time champ, Arizona, Washington, D.C., Al Qaeda in Syria, Al Qaeda in Libya, Al Qaeda here.
That's incredible.
Places he'll never go again.
But the same plane that the Saudi royal family was ushered out of the country after 9/11, McCain used that very same plane in the 2000 election to fly around for campaign. I'm serious, for campaign stops. I
don't doubt it.
The lavishly furnished.
He had a couple of different nicknames. The Navy called him Wet Start, and then later he got Songbird.
It was a Boeing
on his death anniversary. Sorry, I'm sorry. I gotta say this. On his death anniversary, some veteran sent me a picture of a cake. It said "Fuck you, Wet Start," and he was giving him both guns about John McCain. They baked the cake.
He was at the bottom of his class. He was at the bottom of the class.
Oh, he's so pissed.
But no,
So,
how
Ryan,
about
I like
fucking-
heroes who don't get captured.
How about Cindy McCain fucking say we all knew about Epstein? You ever see that clip of McCain's wife talking about how we all knew about Epstein?
Oh yeah, well yeah, her little circle probably did. Of course they did, and her, I mean, John McCain's father helped cover up the USS Liberty,
Who's that, Sydney?
and and his family married into the Seagram's liquor fame, right?
Yes, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
James Hensley, who's working for Samuel Bronfman, and of course Samuel Bronfman's kids are in the Epstein ring.
The thing is,
And the Nexium cult, right?
So
Edgar Bronfman, Claire Bronfman's in jail now for it.
What, Mike?
Yeah, she took the fall. Yeah, she was one of the people who took the fall for Keith Raniere. But so there was a 727.
Well, he's in prison too. Yeah.
How is he in for life or who? So he got life, but Bronfman, what do they got? Like 10, 15 years?
Claire did not get life, and Sarah cut a plea deal. But still, the daughters of a billionaire getting any prison time is a win.
No, it's totally.
But Samuel Bronfman is from organized crime, and he had Kemper Marley murdered Don Bowles. I think I went over that on it. I don't know if.
We definitely touched.
Haven't said already.
We've touched on that, Ryan. Have you seen Tim Dillon do Meghan McCain?
Oh, he must have.
Yeah, for the first 10 minutes, I thought it was actually her.
The whiskers make it really convincing.
I like guns, and I
she
put them
just
in my
had
pussy.
shaved.
The
She had
5 o'clock
shaved that
shadow.
morning. My father.
My father was tortured for 100 years. He never denied anyone's right to kill. Well, no, so McCain was, according to this research, McCain was banging this lobbyist, Vicky Eisman. Have you heard of Vicky Eisman, Dawson?
Oh, Vicky Eisman. Well, I was talking about his father-in-law was the manager for United Liquor. He gave him like $895,000.
Oh, of course he knows Reed. Of course he knows about Vicky Eisman.
Charles Keaton Jr.
Ryan, how are you so based, dude? How do you exist? How are you so based?
I get mad about this stuff, man. I get mad about human trafficking anymore. I don't understand how so many people. I'll tell you what it is. It's imagination, and I don't mean that like purple dragons and stuff. I mean the other side of imagination, like David Hume would talk about, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. The ability through imagination is how your strength of empathy and sympathy. A lot relies on imagination. Sometimes it's just cues, audio cue. You hear someone cry, you feel it, whatever. But like to understand the 500,000 children dead in Iraq, that's a statistic you throw out. Oh, a bus got blown up, blah, blah, blah. You got to sit there and think, okay, this is my life. I'm a person that lives in Iraq. I'm watching everyone starve to death around me and stuff. It really fucks you up if you take the time to do that exercise and sit and really imagine what that would be like. And that's what motivates me. That's like, how do you have the energy to deal with this and deal with all the flack and censorship and da-da-da-da-da? I go, because this is the worst shit in the world. These Zionists, I know they're going to call me a racist and all this crap. I mean, they always accuse of what they're guilty of themselves.
This is what actually matters. This is what actually matters.
You gotta, like, why don't you just not talk about Israel and only get in the other things? Because you can't. I mean, that's like talking about World War II without mentioning the Germans. It's the central piece. Like that, they are why we went to war in Iraq. They are why we have sanctions on Iran. They are why we have support for terrorist groups in Syria. I mean, it's a multi-trillion-dollar sinkhole, and it's real. I mean, it starts the Cold War, the theft of nuclear weapons. Like, pick something, there they are every fucking time. It's them. And when you see stuff like these massive, giant blackmail and pedophile rings and stuff, and it's full of a certain ethnic group, the proper conclusion is not that, oh, that's just how that ethnic group is genetically. That's retarded. It's the proper conclusion is, gee, if such a small minority of people are always like in media and banking and rape rings and stuff, maybe there's a state sponsor. And of course there is, and it's Israel. It's that little shit nation. They bribe and they blackmail their way into power, and they have been dictating U.S. foreign policy. And I say it because it's true. The neocons
you say it because it's obvious.
Create the war in Iraq. They did. the neocons did lie about anthrax.
Yeah, Addington, Woolsey, Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz. Those are the censor players.
Pearl, Douglas Feith, the whole entire Office of Special
Pearl,
Plan, the entire
Scooter
Defense
Libby,
Planning Board.
Scooter Libby. Yeah.
Wormser, yep.
Let me just say, Sean Atwood here. Being 20 minutes, I'm at top of the hour. I'm going to be joined by.
This is a ghost of Christmas, uncancelled.
We're going to be joined by Ryan Dawson, skyping in from Tunis.
You know, John Weaver was an aide for McCain from the Lincoln Project.
Yeah, Weaver. I know. Oh, yeah, he's a pedophile. Yeah, Weaver. Oh, he's a pedophile. My surprise.
And John McCain was getting money from Charles Keaton from the Lincoln Savings and Loan scandal.
Mike, he's got. Dude, Dawson has it all, Mike. He's got it all.
They like to name things after Lincoln.
He's fucking got it all pegged.
Who also slept with men.
Read. How base is he?
Way.
How base is he?
That's okay. That's all right. I know he did.
Right.
I know he did.
Yeah, so Lincoln slept with guys. That happens sometimes.
We were talking before you came in with the chair, Dawson. We were talking with Reed about about the future of just the libertarian movement and what we can do to spread the message and how we can bring people away from fucking clown world and towards
I'm all for Texas secedes and elects King Ron Paul.
Dude, Reed, what do you say to that?
I hate Texas, but I would move there if Ron Paul.
I would be there in a second if they elected Ron Paul King of Texas.
Let's just bring some trees with us to plant because, man, I don't know if you've been to Texas, but it's fucking boring. There's nothing there, so let's bring some trees. Game.
I dated a girl from Texas. I went to around Houston. I went to Galveston. Galveston was pretty based. That's Ron Paul's area. I will tell you though, in Houston at the movie theater, I've never seen so many pregnant teenage girls in my life.
Oh God!
Hey, but
sounds like
at least they were still together and everything.
Was Hunter Biden there?
That's his daughter and his sister. That's his daughter and sister. My granddaughter in my hair. Ryan, did you see?
Yeah, he was there selling artwork.
Ryan, did you see that Sirhan is up for parole? It's not been confirmed. He has to go through Newsom, and he has to go through. There's six members of the Kennedy family, RFK's children, who oppose it, but there's two, including RFK Jr., who are in favor of it. Have you seen that? What do you know about that?
I mean, if they let him out, are they going to give him Kamala's address?
Well, he's like supposedly the first Palestinian terrorist, which is complete bullshit. I mean, it's complete bullshit, dude.
Don't get me going on the JFK and RFK stuff.
No, this is news.
Okay, this is So Sirhan was at the hotel.
Yes, he was firing. He was firing.
Absolutely.
He was in the pantry firing. I don't believe that
$28,000 in debt to the mob and worked at their Corona horse ranch and
the racetrack. Yes, I don't believe that he fired. Thomas Noguchi also doesn't believe that he fired the actual.
Thane Caesar killed RFK.
Who's now dead.
He just died in 2020 in the Philippines where he'd been living.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this again. If I had not been censored on the everything, everyone would know this. All right, I put that all out. I explained it all. Like if RFK had seen the amount of work, RFK Jr. obviously.
I think he has. I think he has, Ryan.
Maybe he did, but
he's on our side, dude.
Well, they had him. This is how over the top it was. With the notebook and stuff that's saying kill RFK, kill, die. It was like a Hollywood trope of what they think a psychopath is.
I know.
And then the best part is they had a newspaper in his back pocket about the aid to Israel or whatever.
The dates didn't line up.
Well, also it's like if he had been killed by the bodyguard or whatever, his motive is in his back pocket. They wanted to make sure that they blamed it on a Palestinian over aid to Israel. Just like a communist shot JFK all by himself.
The first Palestinian terrorist. Sirhan has been designated as the first Palestinian terrorist.
And
modern day. And by the way, Sirhan is
the first plane hijackings, the first suicide bombings, the first boat bombings, hotel bombings, all Israeli Jewish terrorists. Well, how do you see it in the movies? Arab terrorist every time.
Yeah. Well, the thing. I mean, his Sirhan's lawyers didn't do him. They didn't do him any good.
Sirhan's lawyers are the same lawyers as the mafia lawyers.
Well, they were compromised. I forget the lawyer's name that he had, but he was deeply compromised in another investigation for corruption.
Yeah, they had illegally gotten testimonies, and they'd gotten information on witnesses and things in different cases, so they could go pop them off. You know.
Yeah, Fernando Farah it was investigating this from day one. It was a great book called The Polka Dot File. Have you ever read that book, or do you know about that? Or?
See, that naming already would turn me off. It was like, oh, the polka dot dress, MK Ultra, hypnotism, all that is the wrong path to go down. They just told him, do it or we'll kill you. Like, Thane Caesar worked for Ace Security. It was a John Alessio outfit. It's all mobsters. They were afraid he was going to investigate JFK, and he was. He had met with JFK researchers and set for like the prior week to his death. Like he knew, and he knew he had to get into power to do anything about it.
Connected to Howard Hughes. One of these guys were connected to Howard Hughes.
Yeah, I went over that in an interview with Tim Kelly. If anybody's interested, we talked about that for about an hour.
It's all out there. It's all out there, Dawson. But
I mean, who locks himself in a hotel for months? You know,
his balls of piss. He's got balls of piss.
Besides Hunter Biden and Ricky Ross, or what's his name?
Come on, man.
Charlie Murphy just doing coke and crack for months in a hotel.
Mike, tell Ryan, Mike, about Hunter.
Hunter Biden wants to start the new like Uber app for hookers. This is what he did. He had
we're fucking here for it.
He had like madams, and he's complaining, oh, I want no yellow ones or whatever. And you know what the liberal media did? They weren't mad that he's buying women. They were mad that he referred to the Asian ones as yellow.
Yeah, right.
Like, okay, that's mean. Okay, you said yellow. That's kind of like,
oh, it's horrendous.
I'll speak on behalf of the Asian community since I live in Japan and have Asian children. Like, they don't really care about that so much as, you know.
Is your wife Japanese, Brian, or what is your wife Japanese, Korean, or?
Yeah, and Korean, and it's like, hey, he's buying people.
Yeah,
and they didn't care. They just care about the words. It's just like he said the N word too.
Well, we talked about this in our special. We talked about the New York Post, which is the oldest American paper, being completely censored by Twitter and big tech, reporting on the laptop, and this story about the president's, about Joe Biden's son.
It's Hamilton's old paper.
I don't care whether you're left or right. Like this story being like catch and kill, whatever it is, censored, bought and censored, that has a chilling effect. I mean, that's.
I think the Philly Gazette is older. It's still in circulation, but it's not like big like the New York Post. But yeah,
it's not recognized like the. Yeah, I'm sure there's older. Yeah. I'm sure there is, but they say
not much though. There's only a couple. Yeah, it was Franklin's old paper still in circulation.
Yeah. So that's
they didn't care. You know, I mean, the stuff they focus on. The stuff they focus on is the most just benign crap. It doesn't matter. The most benign crap. But it's funny is like within the same story where there is a story, you can see it like, oh, he's buying hookers and things, and he's demanding you find me one of this particular ethnic group and da-da-da.
Yeah,
of course, the identitarians are like, oh, focus on the ethnic part. The hell with the, you know, buying hookers part.
Wasn't that like his cousin or his sister or his sister-in-law, or who was he talking to in the text? Like somebody close in the Biden family.
Yeah, he had. Well, I don't think that one was a relative. He had a whole bunch of procurers, so I don't remember which one it was in that one. It was a woman though. It was shit.
Yeah, it was just something like that. But
Mike, when you look at Biden, Mike, he's literally had people serving him for decades.
Yeah.
I'm so hungover from the McCain death anniversary.
Well,
it was nice.
We'll do a corner for that. We'll do a corner for that.
Brian, I wish you were still on Twitter.
We went out and had Vietnam food.
My name is Megan McCain. I host a daytime talk show called The View. She doesn't anymore.
Brian, I wish you were still on Twitter because I was celebrating.
Is it the wide view?
Pretty hard. You would have had a heyday with it. You would have been proud.
Oh, in the Ghost of Christmas Past, like McCain death anniversary, when I did have a Twitter, it was just.
Yeah,
we had so many.
I'm trying to live up to you a little bit. I mean, I want to keep my Twitter so I don't go.
I like the one your buddy made with the people with the VR sex, with like the glasses on, having sex, And then inside the VR machine is McCain crying over the coffin.
Yeah, that's Dickie Walnuts. It's hilarious.
I just tweeted, "Here comes Ryan Dawson with a chair, dude. It's fucking trending right now."
The sting from the rafters of the baseball bat.
Dude, here comes fucking...
My God, he killed him. It's a slobber knocker.
Mike, here comes Ryan Dawson with a chair.
Ryan, have you heard of how they're trying to cuck Spike Lee? Not only are they cucking Spike Lee, but they're cucking him for shit information. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard that. It's always steel chair. You never say a chair. With a steel chair. It's just
steel chair.
Yes, you always got it. It's the wrestling rule.
Okay, here comes Ryan Dawson with steel chair.
The steel chair. He put him through a table. I missed that. I missed wrestling when wrestling was wrestling because it was just a testosterone-fueled soap opera.
Dude,
and they're anti-testosterone now. Imagine this is your job. Just pick someone up by the neck and throw them through a table, and you both get paid. That is awesome. That is the most American thing.
Ryan, you're a fan of the body, right? Jesse Ventura?
The mind and the body now, right? The Governor Ventura.
I'm the mind. I'm the mind.
Down in Baja.
Where is he, Mike?
I'm off the grid. I don't know. I'm off the grid. You tell me. You tell me where I am.
Vladimir Putin gave me back my freedom of speech.
He was very... Him and Randy Savage were both pretty good on the commentating end of wrestling too.
Oh, they could talk shit too.
Roddy Piper's pit dude was good too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, in the as announcer,
color commentary.
Color commentating. I mean, Jesse was better than Randy at that. Randy was a better wrestler though for the in ring. I don't think anybody would argue.
Slim Jim endorsement too, man.
Did what he could. So Ryan, so people are wondering. I mean, your take on Zombie Joe's fucking pull out and end of Afghanistan. What was this attack that just happened? Oh, Ryan, I want
he's aware of it. No. Okay, we'll be there.
I want to ask you, Ryan, the fucking flare-ups and the bombings and ISIS-K, all that shit. I need to hear your take on it, Ryan. Who's doing the bombing and what's happening over there?
I got a solution for ISIS-K. I got a vaccine. It doesn't stop the terrorists and it doesn't stop the spread of terrorism, but you need it.
But it works 75% of the time.
But if everyone gets it, terrorism will go away.
Right. The reason there's terrorism is because everyone hasn't gotten my anti-terrorist variant that doesn't stop terrorism with the spread of terrorism.
Oh, that's so good. Reed, that's so good.
No, they
Ryan,
to be serious, I try. It's just I got
right. All right.
So the pullout, I totally agree with pulling out of Afghanistan. They're trying to spin it as into an argument about whether we should have left or not. That's not the argument. It's how you left. You don't pull out the troops in the middle of the night without even informing your Afghan allies first. You're supposed to remove all the civilian personnel and, things like weapons, trucks, helicopters, all that. They just left them there. This happened in Iraq too. They just left unguarded caches of weapons, right?
Tons of them.
There's a whole wheat silo full of guns, and they just leave them there. Why would you pull out your rear guard first instead of last? Right? And you're just leaving the airport, the personnel and the weapons and everything just open. And they didn't even tell their allies. They just up and left at midnight. So they weren't even prepared, oh, you guys aren't going to be here. Well, maybe we should grab these weapons and do something with them. They got caught with their pants down. And so that's a disaster. But I mean, you still need to leave. But he kind of got pushed into the corner where he's like, all right, well, I don't want to leave, but we already made a deal. We, meaning the Trump administration, had already made a deal with the Taliban. If we renege on this deal, they're going to renew attacks and we won't be able to make another deal. And so we're going to get murked anyway. And what are we going to escalate again in Afghanistan? As this, political suicide as well at this point. So, okay, he delays it. He kicks it. It was supposed to be in May. He kicks it down the road to August. So essentially he is breaking the deal. Right. Because in their mind, you said you'd be out by May and you're not. This is what we agreed to and we stopped attacking you. And that was the agreement. There had not been any Taliban attacks because that Trump had made that deal. And then they don't leave in May. And they don't leave in June, and they don't leave in July, and they say, we'll leave the last day of August. That wasn't the deal. And so as soon as they removed the troops, which you're supposed to be. It's like the old joke with the Hagar cartoon. Remember, pillage then burn. If you burn first, you can't pillage. Like,
Jesus, yeah.
you're supposed to move the troops out last. Duh. And you don't leave a big pile of weapons behind. And why would you do that? I mean, it's again, and Horton and I always debate about this: incompetence versus doing it on purpose and fainting like, oh, I'm just dumb.
That exact point earlier, didn't I, Eric? The whole incompetence.
Yeah. Reed was saying that earlier, Ryan, about incompetence.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes incompetence. It's hard because it is the government. Yeah, we're talking about some of the dumbest people, like Doug Feith level stupid. But I also think there's always other people in the government that definitely know. Right, like when Horton was on the show, I brought up Dick Cheney's infamous speech where he's talking about the quagmire and exactly spells out what would happen in Iraq if we did what we did. So he certainly knew better. And it's like, oh, well, he just wanted to make profits and da-da-da. I'm like, fine. He went along with it because he's profiteering through Halliburton and da-da-da-da-da. But still, he definitely did know better. So, I mean, they knew it was going to fall apart and did it anyway. And it doesn't matter what their motive is. It doesn't matter if because they're going to profiteer or because they're a Zionist ideologue, whatever. They definitely do know. So it's not incompetence. Incompetence is just the excuse. It's the plausible deniability of, oh, we just really fucked up. We just really miscalculated. We just really thought this and the intelligence was bad. Da da da. No, you knew. Everybody knows what happens if you pull your troops out before your personnel. I mean, nobody.
Yeah, including your assets.
Right. I can see Biden being that stupid. I can see Kamala being that stupid. But I cannot see all the chiefs of staffs and generals and da-da-da being that stupid and the intelligence analysts. But then again, some of them have just been ignored. Because when you look at Milli Vanilli, what he said the other day. That's what I call him.
I like that.
Billy woke ass Milli Vanilli was talking about white supremacy and why would they attack this building? So, okay, he's calling the Capitol protests an attack with no weapons, right? Unarmed Americans attack the U.S. Capitol with no guns.
Did you see that obese woman with the American flag, though? She looked kind of imposing.
Well, yeah. I mean, she maybe ate somebody. No, I mean...
She ate someone, Reed.
He's calling it an attack, which is already propaganda. They were there protesting voter fraud. And he called it white supremacists, I guess, because a lot of the protesters were white. Okay. Well, most of the country's white. So that's just how that's just getting fucked the most, too.
What about Brent Scowcroft being in one of the doomsday planes on 9/11, Ryan? What do you know about that?
Brent Scowcroft was the isn't that the guy? It's the Patriot missile commercial spokesman.
He was one.
You know who dug in a lot to Scowcroft's role in 9/11 is Sibel Edmonds. And over at Newsblood, you can read about that. But let me finish on the Afghan thing first.
Yeah, sorry.
So the pullout was done all in the wrong order, left weapons. It's almost like, I don't know, the Taliban would take those and sell them to China, who's going to reverse engineer American weapons. And, it's a play against Russia. It's a play for China. Beijing, Biden doing that. And if you've seen Corn Pop's Revenge, you see how deep the whole Biden clan is with the Chinese communists.
Oh, it's there.
So, a lot of people are benefiting from this. But on the other hand, they may have been so arrogant that they thought their Afghan force was going to hold them off. Because one thing that doesn't make sense is they definitely did not want to end the opium trade.
Right.
And so losing to the Taliban does cut that off. So maybe they thought our Rena force, people basically signing up to get 3 meals a day and some shoes, are going to hold off the Taliban, but regardless of why or who messed up, or if it's because they were dumb or on purpose or whatever, the result's the same. The Taliban now controls Afghanistan, which, hey, that's not my country. I don't care. It's not up to me.
It's their country.
Right. That's who's supposed to, we weren't intervening. I mean, and again, we've armed them too. But all that, if we did not pump in so many weapons into Afghanistan in the 80s, there wouldn't be all these warlords and fights all over the place.
Yeah, the Mujahideen. And the ISI has promoted the Taliban since the mid-90s, maybe even before that. And we've always supported both of them.
Well, we were using ISI through BCCI as a conduit to get guns to the Mujahideen and freedom fighters, which is now called Al Qaeda. Bin Laden's diaspora Muslims from Saudi Arabia and everywhere else who went to Afghanistan to fight the atheists. You know, and Russia killed millions in Afghanistan, or 1.5 million, something like that. The Soviet Union wrecked that place. I mean, they still speak Russian in lots of parts of Afghanistan.
Right, they have vehicles and weaponry, and now they're going to have our weaponry going into whatever's next. It's a great.
Well, they got our vehicles now.
It's a graveyard of empires.
They got tens of thousands of trucks. Biden just left them there.
Yeah,
he just left them. No burn. You could drive. You could bring them to Uzbekistan or something. Pakistan. No, just leave them. I mean, there's your egg. There's tens of thousands of people could have left by car. Like, you got all these Humvees and stuff. Like, what was the plan? I wonder what Trump's plan was. How are you going to remove all that equipment and stuff? Oh, here's what you do. You remove the equipment first, and then the troops. Duh. But that's not what he did. They did everything in the backwards order. And that's why I think a mistake that huge just can't be incompetence. And saying it is incompetence makes it even worse.
Yeah,
like,
right. Just
you're
that's like
that
saying
dangerous.
That's like saying the Iraq War was a mistake. It's the same type of reasoning. It's bullshit. It's a narrative. It's a narrative.
Right. The Iraq War was definitely intentional. You don't accidentally sign the wrong name on documents from Nigeria about
for Nigeria. Yellow cake. No.
So we're at the 2-hour mark. I'm just taking a station pause to remind everybody: if you're not subscribed to Jackman Radio, click that fucking subscribe button.
Absolutely.
Like we do.
Read Naturalist Capitalists. Read
Naturalist Capitalists. You want to support Ryan? Go to ancreport.com. We're still Jackman Radio is still on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Jackman Radio. And we do this. This is a free speech zone. We want to just talk about real shit.
I got a Substack now. It's kind of like Patreon.
Substack's great, Ryan.
Yeah,
y'all should get on there if it works.
You should get on there and migrate, because I'd rather support them than Patreon. Patreon's woke. They banned me. They banned Owen Benjamin. They banned Lauren Sutherland. They banned I think Michael Barrow. They're terrible. And it's just I don't know if it's the people working there. It's just if somebody gets together and does like a letter writing campaign, like a Gabe Hoff or something, they know if we just get 4 or 5 people to complain, they'll just remove the person.
They'll just shut it down without even looking at it. Yeah, without even. And we had our special come out this week.
I'm like, what was I accused of? No answer. Your special came out this week. I saw the beginnings of this.
Did you watch it, Ryan?
Yeah, I want to get your review, Ryan. I want your review.
I did, and that's how I jumped in the other day when you were at the tail end of a different show. But the reason I was watching that show is because before that I was watching the other show. I was like, I got to get on. I don't usually watch other people's stuff. I make exception for the 3 of you. I watched Peter Schiff and Reed yesterday too. I was enjoying that.
Yeah,
that's a big get, Reed.
I did say hi to him for you before we started the stream, Ryan. He knew who you were still. So. Oh,
cool. Yeah, I interviewed him a couple times, two or three times. I think once for Sibel and twice on my own. And everything he said, he was right. About everything from college loans to the money supply and the housing collapse. That's why I had him on, because he had predicted the housing collapse correctly.
Yeah,
and he also was on what's that Shanky, the Shrek guy,
Young Turks.
Yeah. And he's explaining it, and Shrek won't let him talk. He's screaming over him because Schiff is about to say, "No, that ain't why. This is why." And that would end TYT, right? If his audience actually heard how it worked. He just wouldn't let him talk, and Peter's just laughing, like, "Okay, all right, you're putting words in my mouth now. You're not letting. Why am I here? You don't let me talk."
We gotta get him on the 4 Horsemen. Peter Schiff, that would trend.
Let's do that after Rivero. Because Peter Schiff and I can go off on Bitcoin, the cult of Bitcoin.
So we'll make so many libertarians mad talking about Bitcoin.
Hey, man.
Well, Mike?
Look, you can make money on a Ponzi scheme. Just recognize that online gambling is online gambling.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is.
What were you going to say, Mike?
I was going to say, so did you work on Boiling Frog with Sibel Edmonds, or what was your...
Yeah, for about a year.
Eric and I were promoting Sibel Edmonds to Dennis Kucinich back in 2000, I forget what year it was, but I was in touch with somebody who knew Sibel, and Sibel's story, quite frankly, with the Turkish lobby.
We could have her on for Four Horsemen.
Jan Schakowsky, and what she was saying about the FBI and her story to Dennis Kucinich. I had a Thai dinner with Dennis Kucinich, and I told him I educated him about Sibel Edmonds. This was years.
She
ago.
had the goods on Mark Grossman.
Yeah, from the State Department. Yeah, she had. Grossman.
So
I had the goods on the American Turkish Council too. So I worked for her for about a year.
Yeah, tell Dawson there really quick.
Well, Ryan,
go ahead. Sorry.
On Capitol Hill, I was with Ray McGovern and Dennis Kucinich and a guy named Josh Stieber who served in the unit that was part of collateral murder.
Damn, was your heart vibrating from all the bass?
Yeah, it was. I was there in 2010.
I would love to meet Ray McGovern, man. When he turned his back on Hillary,
dude.
Oh, how about when he took it on Donald Rumsfeld? Let's start there.
We're gonna get Ray McGovern on the Four Horsemen.
Rum on ice. Have a rum on ice.
We're gonna make it happen, Ryan.
Here comes Ray McGovern and Donald Rumsfeld.
Here comes Ryan Dawson with a fucking chair.
Ray McGovern from the top turnbuckle.
But Ray McGovern's bass, dude. And
what would Ray McGovern's finishing move be?
Yes,
it'd be a White Russian. Definitely would be.
But Eric was out in the field on Capitol Hill, and I was like, "Oh fuck, Jan Schakowsky, you're fucking." Here's what it got from Sibel Edmonds. Here's what
ask her about the Turkish lobby,
dude. Not only that, ask her about the fucking suitcase full of cash for Denny Hastert that the Turkish lobby delivered. The biggest pedophile.
Ask her about the Pakistani documents about blueprints of tall buildings in New York and a bridge.
Dude, there's so much. There's just exactly.
There's no balance on how base he is.
I was on a 9/11 stream yesterday because they were saying I deleted something from Richard Gage from my YouTube. I'm like, I don't even have YouTube and haven't had one all year.
Are you going out with Adam Fitzgerald this weekend, Dawson? You going to do that?
I did it last night. I did my piece. Like, I couldn't stay.
Those guys are harsh.
They know their stuff, though.
They do. No, they do.
I know. I was kind of the captain of that team for a while.
How was it, Ryan?
Yeah. I got pushed off all social media, so I think Nelson's taking the helm. Or I don't know who they're all.
I took a photo of Nelson with Daniel Sunjata in 07 at Cooper's in New York City. Nelson Martin, DJ Thermal Detonator.
Yeah, he came to the screening of Empire Unmasked, and I've known those guys a long time.
Yeah, they're good.
My first trip to LA, I interviewed James D'Eugenio, who wrote about JFK. A lot of
He's the best.
That's the time I was on Eddie Bravo the first time, and I met Angela Keaton, and I did another documentary about the press. I did a lot of stuff in one trip in LA, and that's when I met them. That's who took me. Him and Ed Bronfman took me to the Viper's Pit and the Rainbow Room.
In California?
Black bar in LA, and I was in the Vampire's Lair, it was called, and it's like you could almost still smell the cocaine that was there from Mick Jagger and David Bowie. But we're doing this. I'm up there. I look like a very important people because this guy worked for the Discovery Channel, so he had like a real TV camera and stuff. In 3 hours, I'm talking the whole JFK story, and I see Lenny from Motorhead below at the bar drinking Jack Daniels
in the rainbow.
I'm like, oh my god, it's Lenny from Motorhead. Like Triple H's theme song.
Let me go, mister.
And Lemmy's like, he's like, he did Romeo and Juliet, and all. I follow all his obscure crap.
Yep.
And the Ace of Spades, and I'm thinking, I don't give a shit about JFK right now. I have an opportunity to go drink with Motorhead, and I was like, I had to end it. I've been talking forever. I had to go to the bathroom. I didn't want to say, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom where the camera's going, though. So I just sat there and took it. So as soon as it was over, I was like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. And then I'm going to come out and drink with Lenny. And,
dude,
of course, when I got back, he wasn't there that whole time. But he was listening. He was listening to the JFK stuff and nodding like, that guy got it, And I'm like, I got to talk to him. Missed my opportunity. And there's a missing part of that story. I'm not going to say in air. I'll tell you guys, but
we'll talk about it in person. Yeah. I was in the movie with Lemmy. I was in a movie with Lemmy. Yeah,
Awesome.
He fucking knows, dude. He knows.
He did the narration for Romeo and Juliet, and they didn't even explain what it was to him. They're like, just read this.
Oh, they gave him whiskey. Yeah, they gave him whiskey.
He lived on pizza, Jack Daniels, and when they said that wasn't so healthy, he started adding ice to his drink.
Dude, that was like, ha ha, Ryan Dawson.
Yeah,
Reed,
here's the thing: that whole 3-hour tape got lost or something. So I could have just skipped it and started drinking with him, because they ended up losing the whole thing anyway.
That's incredible.
Or someone stole the USB, or I don't know what happened. I was like, God damn it, man! I went all the way to California. I already had JFK on my mind because I was gonna interview James DiEugenio anyway. And so I was like, here, I'll tell you what happened. I went through the whole Daily Plaza. I named all the shooters. I named everything. I went through each mob character, the Bay of Pigs, the diversion of weapons to Israel, all that stuff. And none of it got recorded.
Have you read Echo from Dealey Plaza by Abraham Bolden?
I have not.
We had Abraham Bolden on our podcast 6 years ago. Dude, they erased him. They tried to erase him. Like his
Really?
story. Yeah, his story fucking. He talks about the Chicago. He talks about the Chicago plot. He talks about the Miami plot. He's dude.
Before Dallas was Chicago, original place.
JFK handpicked him, man. He called him the Jackie Robinson of the Secret Service. And so, where is BLM? Where are the woke people for Abraham Bolden? That's kind of like where's the woke for Abraham Bolden? That's what I want to know.
They don't care.
He's born
Where's the woke for Larry Elders?
Dude, Elders is fucking beast. He might even win, dude. Do you think him or Jenner? Do you think Elders has a shot?
I think the fact that I think the fact that us libertarians are excited about either Larry Elders or Caitlyn Jenner winning,
how bad
and like that's a white pill because that's how bad California is with Gruesome Newsom. Speaks volumes in and of itself. Like like Caitlyn Jenner. Oh, hey, better than Gavin. You know,
dude,
way better.
Dude, Caitlyn,
way better.
Caitlyn is all woman. I'm ready. Dude, if you watch the Jackman Radio special live from Legion, we got a whole thing dedicated to Caitlyn Jenner.
Well, Jenner's conservative compared to former Californian. You know what I mean?
What was the thing when Newsom have his dinner in the French restaurant? What was Newsom?
Newsom's a fucking asshole.
Hypocrites, man.
Caitlyn and Larry Elder 2020.
Of the three, Larry Elders is the best of those.
Dude, Larry Elder's base.
He was at Freedom Fest. He gave a pretty good fiery speech there.
And they called him the black face of white supremacy.
I said, the LA Times called him a racist, Ryan.
I feel like giving him a high five. I'm like, see how it is, you know.
Yeah,
I'm like the king of anti-Semitism somehow.
Yeah.
Even though I have like hours and like I've got a 4-hour show of doing nothing but arguing with actual anti-Semites, right?
Yeah,
I won that argument with David Duke too. Like David Duke's no longer like I'm like I got him. I got him to drop
David Duke's a
crap
freak.
on
He's
everything except for the Jays.
Yeah.
Everything else, like he doesn't have a problem with American Indians or Asians or blacks, but he still has a problem with the Jays. And I tried my hardest, but
guy's a freak.
You can't, it's David Duke. He was not giving that one up.
I love the guy that takes the Klansmen's hoods. I forget that guy's name, but he sits down with the Klansmen. He converts them. And he takes their hoods. You know what I'm talking about?
Black guy, right? Isn't he? Black guy? Yeah.
He's based.
Yeah, he's based. I know who you're talking about.
I forget his name.
Yeah, I watched something. He was.
I'll find him.
So, and that's the thing. Usually, if you can talk to these people and just present the counter argument to the silly stuff they think, they'll change their mind.
Yeah,
it isn't based on hate and ignorance, and it's like they have an opinion that is not allowed to face any dialogue. So it just lives in a little echo chamber for a long time, and no one could come around and say,
well, it's like any opinion. How about the opinion that like dropping bombs on people is like a good thing? How about that opinion?
Some little kid will look around and just see the disproportionate amount of success, invention, and science and so on from Europe or the United States, and they'll attribute that to biology. Because they'll say, well, this area of people who look like this are doing all these great things. They made the airplane, they did this, they did that. But those are all products of free markets, not products of biology. And when Japan gets free markets, they start popping out inventions in science and stuff too. It doesn't matter where it is. That's the system that works. It's not biological teleology. And when you say that, just that sentence, that's like, huh. And you start going through history in your head, whether it's whatever empire, the Persians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, it doesn't matter what color. You're like, oh yeah, they all have sea trade. They all have this thing in common. They don't have biology in common. You have more of a gap in wealth and success within the same race than you do between races. Like some Appalachian all-white trailer park town somewhere, versus some, I don't know, some uppity town in Connecticut or something. There's a huge gap, although they're all the same race.
That's what
Florida and California are racially the same.
Bobby Kennedy was trying to punctuate that too. He was trying to. And they
all
loved him, dude. They loved. He went to Appalachia. He went to the hood in New York City, and he tried to help all of. He tried to help all of them. If you look at the documentation, he tried to help everybody. Didn't matter.
And one of his friends, Martin Luther King, who also got assassinated.
Yeah, Martin Luther King was radicalized in the Vietnam War in 1967 from the Ramparts magazine, written by William F. Pepper, who's still around, by the way.
And he's one of those guys. Like Jefferson, like he has some things about him. He plagiarized, he cheated on his wife, he do it, but I don't care.
So
the message that MLK gave is way greater than his faults.
Exactly.
Everybody has faults. Everybody has faults.
Yeah,
every guy has a dick. It's like Bill Hicks says, you have a dick.
Well, not all of them anymore.
I'm ready.
Reed, come on. Dude, how base is he?
He's based.
On a scale of 1 to Ryan Dawson, how based are you?
So Ryan, when you first came into the limelight, were you like instantly as based as you are now, or did it just come out as you got canceled and you're just like, fuck it, and then you just let more and more go, or what has it been like?
I mean, I don't know when there was no limelight, but I was based. I was like this. I've always been like this. I remember when I was 10 years old, we got a 5th grade field trip to Washington, D.C., and we got to meet our congressman. It was Walter Bean Jones Sr., Walter Jones's father.
Walter Jones is a decent guy.
No one had, well, he wasn't, though. The junior one used to talk about freedom fries and all that. But I got hold of him and explained things to him, and he changed his mind. And that's why I'm like, I can't stand people that run around yelling at buildings. I'm like, have you at least tried? Have you tried to talk to the legislative assistant and work your way up the chain? Because one conversation can change someone's mind.
Oh, dude, Kurt Weldon enabled danger. He was a congressman from Pennsylvania. I mean, he did a lot of shit with Tony Schaefer, enabled danger. He was a Republican during the Bush years. He did the right thing. So
yeah, it's good to see someone that was one way and does a complete 180 though.
Absolutely.
And Jones was one of those guys. He became the most anti-war Republican we had. It was him and Ron Paul, and they worked on things. I went and talked to his dad about the importance of line item vetoes, beach erosion, a number of topics. And I'm 10 years old. He's like, why do you know this? I'm like, why do they not know this? And this is your job. It's not my job. I'm like, I know this because I don't have any other responsibilities. I'm 10 and I can do whatever I'm interested in.
Fucking base, dude.
But I gave up for a while until I was like 15. I just kind of tapped out because there wasn't an internet yet. So I was like, what am I even doing? Like, whatever I have to say, no one's ever going to hear, not enough people to make any changes and stuff. I would tackle local issues for Native American stuff and Civil War stuff in Virginia and things that I can actually affect. But once the internet was available and I was like, you mean I can write something and anyone anywhere can see it? Oh, it's on. And then the censorship comes right after that though. So it sucked. But when I finally got my 9/11 stuff out, it was because of Mike Rivero, who we're going to have on next month. He was the guy from WhatReallyHappened.com that recognized what I was saying. Actually, right before him, there was a magazine I wrote for a few times until they started doing this shitty thing where they were taking my articles and coupled it with someone else who was kind of kookish to build them up. I'm like, don't do that. And so they're like, well, I'll just quit writing for you. I was contracted in right there. All right, Dick went to the store or whatever. I'll write something stupid because I'm not helping you after you ripped off what I was doing. But Mike Rivero gets on, plays Oh no, he linked to I had 85-page like blog on September 11th called Iraq 9/11 PNAC All Roads Lead to Israel.
I remember that.
And that went nuts. I mean, it still has over 600,000 reads or something. And it was down for years because you couldn't even access the forum. But then I made like the movie version of that, and Mike Rivero is the one that linked to that. And everyone was like, dude, this guy, because like Bolin was on my forum, but he wasn't coming. But he wasn't Chris. He was pretending to be a girl named Jenny, and he had another character, forget her name, Diane, I think it was. And we didn't know it was him. We just thought we knew it wasn't a girl because you could just tell. Because it's politics, and there are no girls on the internet. This is the running joke, but no, it was somebody. I was like, who is this? One of his characters was very cordial and asked a real question, and his other character was like a raging anti-Semite. So the raging anti-Semite one, I'm like, I'm pretty much a free speech absolutist, but I was like, this is too much because we're starting to get recognized, and then this stain is on our forum. So what do we do? So I made a new folder called Ryan Disagrees with This, and I put all the crap in there. I'm like, hey, it's still there. You can still link to it. It's just going to say at the very top that I don't agree with you. And he lost his shit. And so we were like, okay, we're going to ban this account by email. So in the old PHP BB things, you could ban by IP, by email, by whatever. And I think maybe we banned it by IP, whatever. And then the other character disappeared. And I was like, oh, why'd they both go away? So we look at the other character's email, and it was Chris Polin's email. We're like, oh, shit, it was that guy the whole time. Because I would see my shit end up on his site all the time. And I know from Michael Piper, he was ripping him off all the time. So I'm like, why don't you just give credit? But see, I was such an unheard of like child, basically, that was writing all these things that everyone thought they could just steal my shit and there's nothing they could do about it. And they were right. That's exactly what happened. But Mike Rivera gave it recognition. And then David Icke, of all people, put War by Deception on his website. Didn't put my name in it, but my name is in the film. So yeah.
I will stick up for David Icke. I know you said some shit about him, Ryan. You're not fully on board with them, but like, dude, David Icke has done a lot of great stuff.
Oh, I say the bad ended with him. Just like Trump. I'll say when he does something right, and I'll say when he does something dumb. And the lizard shit is dumb. To me, Ryan, 5G melts your brain stuff is dumb. It is.
To me, that shit is just to get noticed.
Yeah, but the 5G stuff, I mean, he was telling people that was causing corona, and they ran out and started setting fire to 5G towers. Like that he does bear some responsibility on that. That's full retard. And that is, and I'm not saying I don't like. Look, I got this book right here. I mean, this is a huge David Icke book, and I've read it. I'm not anti him, but when someone does something really dumb, it's not like I'm going to cut him off forever. I mean, like, that was dumb. That 5G stuff was dumb, and that's why he lost his YouTube, is because he'd been saying all the crazy, and a lot of it's legit too.
Early 90s.
But when he did that, it was like, dude, don't tell people that, because first of all, Corona has nothing to do with 5G. It just means fifth generation. It's if they don't know what the light spectrum is like, it's like, look, radio waves and microwaves and like what your Wi-Fi runs on is less harmful than visible light, which is in the middle. It's the other side that has X-rays and ultraviolet and all. That's what harms your genes and things.
His work on Ted Heath.
Well, that's the thing. So I did a whole weekend, Ryan, where I hung out with Jesse Ventura and David Icke in the same weekend.
That must be fun.
It was amazing. I have incredible stories we can talk about some other time on some other stream.
I'd love that. I like to hang out with both of them. I think they're both great. But Jesse is wrong on some stuff.
He is, yeah. Judy Wood stuff.
He discredited everything else he ever did by hopping on board with that. But when the Gulf of Tonkin signal intelligence came out, nobody was screaming louder about that than Jesse Ventura. I'm like, thank you.
James
somebody
Banford.
On TV.
James Banford.
Hey. I know.
Oh, God,
that's what we're all. That's what Mike and I are all about, Ryan. The Jackson brothers are all about finding.
Nobody gets everything right all the time. I don't get everything right all the time.
Right. We're all about.
Sure. None of us do.
Yeah, nobody gets everything right all the time. And when someone's wrong, it's okay for. Like when I'm wrong and someone says, "Hey, that was wrong," I'm like, "Okay, that was wrong."
We acknowledge it. We acknowledge it.
But when someone won't acknowledge it's wrong, that's when there's a problem. Like a certain person that still thinks Russia invaded Crimea, Abby Martin.
What was that about Abby? What
she quit her job at RT because she thought Russia invaded Crimea. I'm like, really? They go in there guns a-blazing? That's not what happened.
Well, Putin was showing strength, is what I would say.
Right. And there's another person that deserves credit for doing a complete 180 because she used to totally ignore. She used to totally ignore the Palestine situation. Now she's like the biggest advocate.
Abby,
right? So
you know how much
props to her for figuring it out finally. Like that's great. And a lot of people can't. They just stick to their gun because of their fragile ego and they will never change their mind. Blumenthal's another guy. He used to be Assad must go. Now he's the total opposite. He's so base and he's so knowledgeable. He's got like a Scott Ritter level. Like he knows every little fucking thing.
He's there.
He gets it. Especially on Palestine.
Scott Ritter came to my college back in the day and I asked him about the ISI. He was like, "Who are you?" This was like in 2006. I was like, "Scott Ritter, I want to talk to you about the ISI."
Scott Ricard also.
Who are you?
And it's unfortunate Ritter's got some weird fetishes and stuff, but you know
whatever. It doesn't involve me. Like, I mean, his other stuff is like, good.
It's his role playing. He said he was role playing, and I believe him. But like,
dude, if you're 18, you're doing some shit. If you're as long as everybody's above 18, I don't care about that. And that's all.
Some of them were not. Well, I mean, they were, but they pretend. Okay, let me just explain the Ritter thing.
Well, you don't have to explain. I don't know. I don't know about that.
He didn't do anything illegal. Right. But so that's all that matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, we're coming up. We have been. This stream has been epic. We've been doing 2.5 hours.
Dawson came here. He died doing what he loved.
Dude,
Donna Z told me like a minute before when the Jackmans got hold of me. Donna Z's like, "Reed's on the Jackmans right now." I was like, "Oh my God, why? I feel like I'm being cheated on or something."
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just that we just,
Let's get Rivero, Sibel. There was another one that got named.
Sibel Edmonds. I've been champion Sibel Edmonds.
No, we're going to get everybody who's based.
Who's the other person to come on Horsemen?
Peter Schiff.
Peter Schiff, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Schiff.
That'll be based.
And yeah. So
and then one day we need to get all the Horsemen guests on it.
We'll do that one in person live. It'll just be a stage.
You can't cancel people in person.
No,
we're gonna have to dress up like the Justice League with a big table and shit.
Ryan's like one day Palestine will be free. That hits me in my heart.
I know.
It will be.
That's what hits me, Ryan. Like I know that you feel that.
Hey, Kissinger agrees. Kissinger and so did Zabriskie. They were saying like the writing's on the wall. Israel's got the tiger by the tail. The whole world community knows this. It's only American media that is allowing this to happen.
Yeah,
like one crack in that, and it will just clap and fall as fast as the Soviet Union. Like overnight, it will disappear.
It seems like it's cracking. Like a few months ago, people weren't buying the completely pro-Israel narrative anymore. They're like what?
That's right.
So
Free Palestine, says the analytical.
All right, Reed, we'll start with you. We'll go around. Your last word, your final word, where we can find you, how based you are. Go ahead, Reed.
I'm gonna say be as based as be as based as you are. Don't be less based than you are, and don't pretend to be more based than you are. Just be whatever you're comfortable with, and I think people will accept you for who you are instead of someone you're pretending to be. But
don't pretend to be something you're not.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, check me out.
That's anti-transgender.
Check me out on the Naturalist Capitalist. I just had Peter Schiff on today, and I've got some more interesting guests coming up. And then follow me on Twitter at Reed Coverdale.
Mike?
Free Assange.
Free Assange. And I would just look up Jackman Radio's comedy special. I would hope that there's some laughs in there. And tonight I was very happy and surprised to see somebody who's not politically engaged enjoy my Julia Child impression, which was surprising. Great. I want you to enjoy my Julia Child, but I want you to know more and learn more about Julian Assange. But if Julia Child brings you to Julian Assange, fucking great. And that's it.
I like that. Ryan, your last word.
Fuck Israel.
Jesus Christ.
What a shocker.
If he didn't want to get us canceled, he sure does now.
No, like I feel like the people that are black pilled ought to be white pilled because they don't know how much worse it used to be. Like as much as I'm getting kicked off of this and that, there used to not even be things to get kicked off of. It was just you watch TV and that was the news. Now,
Right.
at least I could temporarily have a voice, which is a step up from where we were before. And what I see is with BitChute and Odyssey and Telegram and VK and these other options, the monopoly is already dying. The free market is already killing the beast the same way it did MySpace. And once we have that, they're done.
It's coming.
Everything
coming.
else is predicated on media. No matter what your tactics and strategy is, it's got to start with you got to have communication. Have to. And that's happening. And I'll be ahead of the curve on that when everybody gets over on those other platforms. Because you're going to have to. They're banning everyone for anything, especially Facebook. You could have written something 10 years ago that someone doesn't like and they'll ban you. Right?
Right. Eric's been out. Eric, how long you been out for? What, a month?
Month.
2 years ago. It was a Hillary meme from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was true.
I'm limited on my account right now because it was actually weird because it wasn't one of my shit posts. It was my serious post that I made a couple days ago about how I'm an extreme.
About January 6th?
No, it was
serious?
like a really candid post about like how I'm an extremist because I'm against war and I'm against torture and I'm against all these things. And then it was like, so am I the real extremist? And then they fucking limited my account like that.
You're against war and torture? Sounds pretty anti-Semitic there, Reed.
I've been saying the same things for 20 years, but now I'm the extremist. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what we have to say. So thanks for tuning in here to Jackman Radio. This was fun. It turned into a Four Horsemen.
That's
Hey,
right.
Ryan Dawson on Substack. Forgot to have a Substack.
Yeah. Get Ryan Dawson on Substack. You can.
And here's the piece. I mean, think of the money, folks. Excuse me, folks. Think of the money, the shampoo we spent smelling bombs and smelling kids. I smell Jeff Sessions' children. I couldn't even tell you that's plum or coriander because they have dementia. But think about the bombs. Think of the bombs, folks. We're dropping bombs in the Middle East and all over the world. Nobody questions that, but we question somebody who has freedom of speech.
I wonder if Joe Biden can grab a kid and be like, "Oh yeah, it's Johnson & Johnson." You know?
I think so. I believe that. No, I believe that.
Hashtag Seneca, folks.
Watch the Jackman Radio special. You find the answer.
They'll be doing a shampoo connoisseur commercial, like all the things that Biden can tell by a sniff.
That's it. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. Click subscribe. We're here on
Peace
YouTube.
and love. We're just prone to peace.
We love you, and we'll come back soon again. Take care.